So you just bought a new house. Now it's time to care for it. Sign up for a free workshop from the Home Depot. We'll go over the basics of power and hand tools, air and electrical systems, lawn care, and more, so you can take on upkeep with confidence. Every workshop is live, interactive, and led by our expert associates, so you can get all your questions answered. Keep your home looking its best with Homeowner 101 Basics. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Register now at homedepot.com/workshops.
School is back, and so is the JCPenney Mystery Sale. How much will you save? Hurry in store for a coupon giveaway while they last. You could peel and reveal an extra 30, 40, or even 50% off store-wide. Sale ends Sunday. Extended store hours Friday and Saturday. Shopping is back, and the savings are too. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 8/7. Exclusions apply. Giveaway in-store only. Must be 18 years or older. See store or jcp.com for details.
Do it! This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Mickey, fishy, fishy!
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
The fucking sun sucks. I don't know what you people see in the sun. I don't know how you people do the sun. It's just the dirt worst. I want nothing to do with it. I'd be content never going out in the sun again.
And Rich Crage.
This is the dumbest show. I cannot believe it. These people some people pay us $10 to listen to the show live. This is what we give them for 45 minutes.
Been doing this for 10 years. Why?
We're bigger than ever. More people listen to us than ever.
Why?
And we are live here on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening?
What's happening with you? I think I have some very random breaking news. I mean, I've just been getting these text messages just as we were starting the show.
Breaking news in the world of wrestling or personal life? What are we talking here?
Okay, in the world of wrestling.
Okay,
of course.
All right. Well,
this is not the Flagship Joe Lanza Life podcast. This is the Flagship. Sometimes this, but no, I think I have some. Now this is what they call in the biz, Rich, a developing story is what they call this.
Okay, all right.
I was tipped off that. Are you familiar with the Control Your Narrative?
Oh, of course I am very familiar with the Control Your Narrative, the Rant Room, everything about Control Your Narrative, and the fun, exciting shows that they have coming up very soon that are in random locations all across America. So,
as Lee Corso used to say, not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, my friend. I can tell you that, yes, they had this tour upcoming.
In the weird, like a lot of weird spots, weird locations, places like the place that they're running in the Chicago area. I haven't heard of that place running anything, let alone wrestling in ever. I like the place they're running in Chicago. I've never even heard of until I looked it up the other day when they said they were there.
Did it happen to be Chicago proper or no?
Yes, yeah, it was Chicago proper.
Well, then hold that thought.
Oh, okay.
I have been told that for sure the St. Louis Control Your Narrative show has been canceled.
Oh no.
And again, developing story, and it looks like the entire tour has been canceled because if I'm understanding these details properly, this was a bought tour. Okay, a promoter bought these shows, and then when the promoter found out that a lot of the shows were booked where you need wrestling licenses, for example, Missouri,
being one of the more famous ones, yes,
where you have to deal with unions, for instance.
Chicago proper,
right? Yep. And with the lack of ticket sales, the guy threw his hands and canceled the whole tour. This is what's being explained to me, and I'm trying to work through the details as the show is starting now. So I can tell you this: St. Louis isn't happening, and it looks like the entire tour is going to be canceled. So, just for the record, if that turns out to be true, we had that first live on Wednesday night.
There you go, live on Wednesday. Breaking news about Control Your Narrative, and you especially when we were done with that first show, previewing that first show, you said, good, we never have to talk about this promotion ever again. I never want to talk about it again. And here you are starting the Flagship off with it. But that's big news. That's it was a really if you saw where they were going and what the places they were being booked, and there was some they had shows in Wisconsin that were in just the weirdest towns, and I'm like, there's no way that they picked this town. It had to be a bought show. So I guess that they maybe then went towards that model of, hey, let's see if we can get some promoters that'll, buy and become kind of like a traveling circus thing where people will, we got these paid shows, kind of like what Global Force Wrestling tried to do, or actually, I guess Jeff Jarrett pulled it off, because of course Jeff Jarrett pulled it off, getting like sold shows in minor league stadiums across the country. It kind of felt like Control Your Narrative when you looked at some of the arenas they were running, or I say arenas very lightly. It's what Paul Levesque would call tiny little bars or tiny little theaters here. But they were very weird places, random locations, places that I was like, really? Like, they're running in St. Louis proper and Chicago proper, and they're running in this weird town and that weird town and these things, and I guess it all makes sense. And now it's all not happening, I guess. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Because I don't know, do they have any official like accounts or anything that you can actually follow this shit, or do you just kind of trickles in from EC3 and other places? I think I'm not even quite sure if it has its own thing. But
I don't know.
I'll be honest, I don't care. It doesn't really matter.
It's the first I heard of Control Your Narrative since I saw that list of tour dates, and I was like, that's ambitious.
There was like, so I'm trying to find, what I'm trying to do is find the tour dates that they were doing, because it was a big tour where they were like, all right, we're coming back, and it's like, here's these 30 dates we have, and it's like, whoa, guys, chill out a little bit. So let's see. Tour. Here we go. I'm on their controlyournarrative.ticketleap. It says no upcoming events there, but I don't know that they ever had them on there. Did they have so it said that they had a show. Joe, do you know, did they have a show 2 days ago or 3 days ago? It looks like they, Control Your Narrative versus the future stars of AML Initiative in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That was apparently on July 30th. And then on July 31st, it was Control Your Narrative versus AML Awakening in Goldsboro, North Carolina.
I have no records of that on Cage Match, but I don't know what to tell you.
Well, if you were there live, let us know in the No Dub chat room if you went to any of these Control Your Narrative. Hold
on now. That Awakening show, what promotion was that with?
That was, I think both of them were AML Wrestling.
There was a Control Your Narrative show titled Awakening, but it was done with a promotion called GLCW in Wisconsin.
Okay, so no, that's the one that's definitely a sold show. What's the town in Wisconsin? Because I know you love bringing up Sheboygan as like your go-to random town in Wisconsin. What was that one again?
This was Great Lakes Championship Wrestling in Cedarburg, Wisconsin.
Right. See, if you get a chance, look up Cedarburg, Wisconsin. There is no chance in hell that Adam the Titan and EC3 were looking at towns going, all right, where can we run the next show for Control Your Narrative? And ended up at Cedarsburg, Wisconsin. So that was some sort of weird sold show arrangement thing or something going on with that show. So there's that one. But that was a couple weeks ago. At this point.
Dave Harrow owns that promotion.
Yes.
So,
yes, he does.
So there must be a connection with EC3 there somewhere.
I would imagine, yes. If there's a wrestler and Dave Harrow can be close to that wrestler, there's a connection for sure. So.
Oh, all right. Alrighty then.
He just likes being near wrestlers. It wasn't anything salacious. He just likes being near wrestlers. Like, you see Kevin Nash in some random place, and David Harrow's not far away. I've seen that guy everywhere. And once you know what David Harrow looks like, and then you just see him a lot of places. And I don't know exactly his thing, but he's just there. He's just kind of around all the time.
Are you a big fan of the Great Lakes Championship Wrestling?
I'll be honest, have not watched a minute of the Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. So
that's your neck of the woods.
Sort of.
You don't head up to Waukesha to check out all the...
Waukesha, sir.
Waukesha?
Waukesha. Yeah, it's a horrific town, so no, I don't spend any time in Waukesha.
You don't go up to Waukesha to check out Beers, Brats, and Body Slams too?
Now, that does sound pretty sweet. I should have gone to that, actually. They used to run, Tommy Dreamer used to run a lot of shows there, too, maybe with this Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. They ran a very interesting building in one Waukesha, but no, I never made the trek up to Waukesha to watch Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. I'm sorry.
Well, what you missed was Al Snow winning the Great Lakes Championship Wrestling.
That's all I need to know about that.
So. Tag team titles, so you missed out, sir. I don't know. So, look, this is, again, I'm literally getting texts as Rich is counting down to start the show. So I don't know if this guy bought the whole tour, some of the tour, but whatever this guy bought, he canceled. And part of that was St. Louis. So there you go. If I get more while the show's going on here over the next 3 hours, I will I'll bring it up because I know everybody wants to be right on top of this Control Your Narrative news.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it was it was called the Arise North American Tour, but I can't seem to find all the rest of the shows. I did find a ticket leap or for the Patio Theater, the one in Chicago that they were running on. It says Control Your Narrative has found its, quote, purpose and is proud to announce, quote, Arise, a series of live events featuring combative professional wrestling, all caps action, and the real stories of those who choose to fight.
Yeah.
This company is absurd.
Oh, well.
Oh, it's so stupid. So, okay, I'm trying to find the Control Your Narrative Arise North American Tour. I wonder if it's already been wiped or I can't seem to find this thing. And I know for a fact it was there and I saw all the names and it's all the places, but
Rich, you're working way too hard.
I'm working way too hard on the Arise.
Yeah. It's
tour. That might not happen or for sure is probably not happening. So
looking like they're not happening.
Well,
who would you take into the rant room if you had
who of the rant room?
Who would you get to?
I get to tell Flip Gordon their Earth is round. I get to tell Austin Aries that he's short. What do I get to tell EC3? I forget. What is EC3's thing? I don't know if there's any reason for...
The gimmick is you can say whatever you want, and they will not talk back.
Right.
You can just let them have it, Rich. Let them have it.
Like, what would I say to Adam the Titan? You know, I don't know. What would I wouldn't say anything to Adam the Titan. I have nothing against EC3. I don't know what.
If you've had something on your mind that you've just been dying to tell Vinny Pacifico, this would have been your chance.
This is my time. Yeah.
Okay,
I could pay a cool it was like $50 or something like that too, right?
Something like that.
It wasn't cheap to get in the rant room for sure.
Yeah. So, look, there could be something that's been bothering you about Weston Blake for all these years, and you're just right. you're champing at the bit, and you got to let them know. And this would have been a big opportunity.
Would have been the chance. Yeah, this would have been the chance.
The rant room, but it doesn't look like any of this is going to happen.
Man.
So.
Well.
It's unfortunate.
R.I.P. again. R.I.P. once again to Control Your Narratives.
Unscheduled topic.
Yeah, there you go. Oh,
I got scoops later, man. Wait till we get to Dragongate.
Oh, scoops. You got scoops? You're scooper over there. All right,
Wait till we get to Dragongate.
I'm excited.
I wanted to break the Okuda news. Did you see the Okuda news?
I saw he is no longer a member of the Dragongate roster or imminently no longer a member of the Dragongate roster. I don't know, is that official yet or no?
He put it out on his social media about an hour ago.
Okay, yeah.
So what I say last week?
Yeah, he was done.
He will not be the last. He will not be the last. But that's what they call in the biz a teaser. I'll have more on that when we get to the Dragongate portion of the show.
Yeah, we have a lot to get to this week. It's a big week. Again, a lot of stuff that we had to watch this week, a lot of stuff that we had to catch up on. Of course, as you mentioned, Dragongate, we're going to touch on the Kobe World Weekend of 2 shows from Dragongate, including some exclusive scoops that Joe has here about the world of Dragongate, which is used to be a pretty stable world, pretty based, everybody kind of knew where everybody stood and what was going on in the company. Not so much anymore. So it's been a very tumultuous couple of weeks and months for Dragongate, and that appears to be continuing in the future as well. We'll touch in on the G1 Climax. We're through 10 nights, Joe. The home stretch is coming for the G1 Climax. I know you are just cannot wait to touch on the G1 Climax yet again on this week's show, so we'll touch on that. Carl Frederick's done with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so we're going to talk about that. His announcement, what went wrong, missed opportunity for New Japan, misjudgment by Fredericks, like where this kind of all stands with Fredericks and New Japan Pro Wrestling, what's next for him. We will touch on Ric Flair's last match, unfortunately, because I watched it and you watched it, and we have to touch on that, so we're going to get to that. Well, then we'll get to WWE stuff as well. SummerSlam, WWE being good again, but not really, and people tripping over the lowest bars in the world to compliment WWE for the most basic things that they're doing. Hey, whoa, Paul Levesque changed everything. It's good now. So we'll touch on that. We'll review SummerSlam. But did want to quickly touch on at the beginning of the show, definitely something that we have to get into here with us doing the show that we do, and 2 guys, certainly one guy that we've talked a lot about on this show. And that was two legends of the sports world that passed away this week. We heard the news, I think it was yesterday, right? Or maybe today, of Vince Scully passing away. I believe it's today, actually, we learned the news of Vince Scully passing away. And then on Sunday...
Vince Scully was last night during the Dodger game. Yeah,
oh, wow. Okay, so last night during the Dodger game, Vince Scully announced he passed away. And then obviously on Sunday, Boston Celtics legend, one of the greatest winners in sports history, if not the greatest winner in sports history, Bill Russell, also passed away. We almost made it 3 with Ric Flair. The way he looked after that last match, I thought we were going to lose Bill Russell and Ric Flair in one night. But no, Rick is, as far as we know right now, as of this recording, still alive. But Bill Russell and Vince Scully, unfortunately, no longer with us. Two sports legends. Real quickly, we'll start with Scully. Your thoughts on Vince Scully. We've mentioned him numerous times on this show, and baseball fans all should know Vince Scully. And if you don't, get acquainted with Vince Scully right now. You need to. This is the day to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the pretty much the consensus greatest baseball play-by-play man of all time, right? That's fair.
I would say certainly fair. Yeah. Can I give you a Vince Scully fun fact that I know you're going to eat up and love?
I would love a Vince Scully fun fact.
This is my favorite of the Vince Scully fun facts, and there's a lot of them. Okay, so Vince Scully called Connie Mack's final managerial year. Now, Connie Mack managed forever, but his final year was in 1950, okay?
Yeah, Connie Mack, yeah, of course.
Yep.
Scully's broadcasting career began in 1949. So,
right. So he called Connie Mack's final managerial season.
1950.
Connie Mack was born during the Civil War. So you have a direct line between Connie Mack, born in 1862. You have a direct line from that man to a guy that just passed away last night.
Yeah, Connie Mack managed his first professional baseball game in 1894. Right. Vince Scully called Connie Mack.
Cornelius McGillicuddy, better known as Connie Mack. Cornelius McGillicuddy.
Which is a total Civil War era name.
Absolutely. For a man that was born in East Brookfield, Massachusetts in 1862, of course his name would be Cornelius McGillicuddy. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so that a direct line from the Civil War to a man that passed away yesterday.
Managed in a 3-piece suit and a derby.
Absolutely, all the time.
Very classy, Connie Mack, and I'll tell you.
And the good old days when managers were also the financiers for their baseball teams, which didn't always go well because Connie Mack not the best guy with his money, so that didn't go particularly well all the time. But these days you don't have to worry about your manager having a ton of money in the bank to finance your team's talent acquisitions. That can be separate. Your manager could just be your manager, and your owner could just be your owner. So that's good.
Connie Mack, he managed the Philadelphia A's for 50 years, and he managed the Pittsburgh Pirates for 3 years before that in the 1800s. But he managed some horrendous Philadelphia A's teams. I mean, teams that would lost 110, 115 games.
Sometimes multiple years in a row, they would lose 100-plus games.
Yeah, and but would always bounce back and won, what did he win, 5 or 6 World Series? 5 World Series, I think. And he didn't do well for the last 20 years or so. But he had it, he's obviously an icon and a Hall of Famer. But it's just bizarre, totally insane that a man who passed away less than a day ago called games that Connie Mack managed.
Right.
When this man's managerial career began in 1894, he was born smack dab in the Civil War. I mean,
and he just stopped calling games like 5 years ago. This isn't a guy who, hung the microphone up in 1974 either. Yeah, Vince Scully was calling games until I think it was 6 years ago, right? When he retired 5 or 6 years ago.
I'm sure 5 or 6 years ago.
I'm sure we did a segment on the show when he actually retired too.
We probably talked about him, yeah. But I mean, when Connie Mack managed his first game, Grover Cleveland was president. So that's 1 degree of separation to Vince Scully, who died a few hours ago.
Which Grover Cleveland term, by the way? Do you know off the top of your head which one?
No, I just quickly Googled who was president in 1894, and I got Grover Cleveland.
I don't know enough. Yeah, I don't know enough of my history. I believe. What'd you say? 1890. I believe second term. I believe second term for Grover Cleveland.
So yeah, second term. Grover Cleveland, who was wedged between like Chester Arthur or something.
I don't remember.
This is what we're dealing with here. Vince Scully retired in 2016.
Benjamin Harrison. Benjamin Harrison was the president in between.
Yeah, didn't he the one that died in like a month? No, that was William Henry Harrison.
That was William Henry Harrison. Yeah.
Scully retired.
Well, I believe Benjamin Harrison was the grandson of William Henry Harrison, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I never knew that. Okay.
They were a lot of related ones for a while there. They were always
you got the Adams, right?
Yeah.
You got the Adams father-son duo. You got the Bush father-son duo.
That's a little bit more recent than the one.
Were the Roosevelts related? I don't even know. I don't think they were. Right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's just an old-timey last name, so everybody had it.
Joe and Rich don't know anything about presidents, I guess.
Roosevelt.
Live on the air. So, yeah, I don't think so. I think they were unrelated. But
yeah, Scully retired in 2016, so 6 seasons ago.
Yeah.
So he called games of this current exceptional Dodger team that dominates every year. Basically, this isn't like a guy who retired 20 years ago. And again, he's connected to Connie Mack, which is, he's connected to literally the first days of baseball by 1 degree of separation. I mean, that's by no degrees of separation. I mean, it's insane. But yeah, probably the greatest baseball. Not probably, the greatest baseball play-by-play man of all time. He also called PGA golf, which a lot of people remember for calling golf. A lot of people...
Football. The name's escaping me, and it should not. And I know
NFL, yeah.
And I'm not a big enough football fan to know this. Dwight Clark, his famous catch for the 49ers.
Oh, yeah, against the Cowboys.
Yeah. He's calling that game.
In the back of the end zone.
Yep.
You've seen that replay.
Yeah, I know number 87, and I know Dwight, but I forgot what the hell his last name was. But yeah, it's one of the more iconic plays in NFL history. That number 87 stretching his arms out as much as he possibly can to grab that back of the end zone touchdown, get the 49ers to
over Joe Montana to Dwight Clark, and getting over the hump, beating the Cowboys. Yeah, I didn't know he called that game. He called that game on CBS, I guess.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe
in those days, would have been CBS. Because I remember we just talked about this. Didn't John Madden and Pat Summerall replace Vin Scully and whoever his partner was as the number 1 team on CBS? Isn't that how it played out?
That I don't remember.
I know
exactly.
I'm putting you on the spot. But Madden and Scully called games together. That I know. Because when Madden was going through his little tryout there, they've had him with a bunch of different partners. And he called games with Scully. And if some of those are on YouTube, those would be very historical to listen to. The greatest, maybe the greatest sports commentator of all time in Vin Scully calling a game with the undisputed greatest NFL color man of all time.
Yeah, that would have been insane.
John Madden.
That would have been insane to listen to.
But this was Madden, as a greenhorn, and who knows if they had chemistry. But let me see if his Wikipedia page has this, because I'm almost positive too that then Madden and Summerall basically took his job. Okay, so Scully and Summerall were duking it out for the number 1 spot, the number 1 play-by-play spot.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously we know how history played out there. So Scully's regular partner, it looks like, was Hank Stram, which looks like a very interesting team. But yeah, so Scully and Summerall were both paired with Madden, and it was like a tryout for who was going to end up in the number 1 team with Madden, because Madden was going to be the color guy, but it was a matter of who was going to win out. So they would do 4 weeks at a time. It'd be 4 weeks with Scully, 4 weeks with Summerall, and then which was convenient because Summerall would call the U.S. Open tennis for CBS. So he would go away and call tennis, and then Scully would step in and call games in September with Madden, and then Summerall would come back and they'd switch. But eventually we know how it all turned out. Summerall won, and Summerall and Madden are probably the most that's the most iconic sports commentary duo probably ever.
Oh, I would say ever. Yeah, I think they established themselves as ever for sure. I mean, there's been good duos throughout history. There's been, but yeah, nobody touches those guys, man. In Summerall, that's an all timer.
Yeah, and that takes nothing away from Vin Scully, who, as we said, is the greatest baseball play-by-play man of all time. For people who don't follow baseball or follow sports at all, the thing about Vin Scully is he called all those Dodger games by himself. He didn't have a color. He just called the games alone. This was like he was his own color guy, and he was famous for like his just anecdotes that he had for every player. And he was very grandfatherly, and he would just weave these little stories into the game.
And always find a time to pause for, he'd tell this long story and da-da-da, and then go, 3-2 count, strike 3. All right. So then I was talking to Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Always gave you the score, always gave you how many outs, always gave you the strikes, while also telling you a long-form story that might take 2 innings.
So he returned from the war, and he thought his career was over. That's low, 2-0.
Right, like, and then right back into it.
Right, yeah. It is just that distinctive... never, the emotions never too high, the emotions never too low. And it's interesting because he grew up in New York as a New York Giants baseball fan, not New York Giants, the football team. He grew up in New York as a New York Giants baseball fan. And then he ends up having a multi-decade career as the Dodger play-by-play announcer, who are their arch rival. And, he called all those legendary Dodger-Giant games over the years, during that rivalry. But, he called Dodger games from 1950 until 2016.
67 years.
There's another wacky stat. I don't remember it exactly, but he called something like 4% of all Major League games all time. Like, that's just, it's just completely absurd. He started in Brooklyn with the Dodgers, and then, obviously came with them to LA, and lasted well into the HD era and into the modern era of baseball. And, the team that's on the field today, he called most of those players' games. I mean, he just retired 6 years ago. So he was 94 years old, so he didn't hang him up till he was 88 or 89. He was still sharp as a tack at the end. And I could tell you just, many, many years that I spent Dodgers playing on the West Coast. I watched my Reds game at, 7 Eastern or 6 Central, depending on where I lived at the time. Reds would wrap up, got nothing to do, turn on the West Coast games. You're always going to pick the Dodgers if Scully's calling the game.
Absolutely.
Just to listen to Scully call a game.
Great it was good to listen to, but also like very cathartic if you're just trying to fall asleep or something like that. And that's not like, he's not boring in that sense, but it's like, it's time to go to bed, or like I would listen to it at like 10:30 at night or whatever, just knowing that, hey, I'm going to go to bed, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit back and just kind of close my eyes and listen to this guy talk. And like, sometimes I'd stay up for an hour or two just listening to Vince Scully talk, and that's fine. Like, I didn't need to fall asleep, but it was so calming that if you were in the right state of mind, you just kind of doze off and be like, perfect. He whatever emotion you needed, he would either rock you to bed or get you excited about a game or whatever. It was all because he just laid it out there for you and just had a style that was so organic. And so, I mean, he wasn't, like you said, he wasn't screaming, he wasn't yelling, he wasn't trying to be soft-spoken. He was just, the microphone would turn on and Vince Scully was just Vince Scully. He just talked. He would just talk for 3 hours every night for 67 years.
Yeah. So when they moved to LA, the Dodgers, and they were before they built the stadium at Chavez Ravine where they play now, they played at the Coliseum. And the Coliseum, LA Coliseum, is so large that it was hard for fans to see what was going on the field. So they would all bring their transistor radios, which were just invented like 10 years earlier. Okay, so they would bring their transistor radios and listen to Scully call the game so they could understand what was going on, when they were sitting up in the cheap seats in the Coliseum. And that became a tradition. And even when they moved into Dodger Stadium in Chavez Ravine, where they play now in 62, it had already embedded itself as a tradition. So everybody kept bringing their transistor radios to listen to Vince Scully call the game that they were at, right? So it would reverberate through the whole stadium. And there's a story of somebody with the NFL. I'm going to botch this story a little bit, the point, because I'm going off memory, but the gist of it is correct. somebody affiliated with the NFL went to take a piss at a Dodger game in the 60s. And when he went into the bathroom, he heard, he's like, oh, they pipe in Vince Scully's commentary while you're in the bathroom.
Right,
so
and they do that at White Sox games. The radio announcers will be on or whatever. Yeah, they do it at several places, right.
So so the guy thought, this is a great idea. I have to bring this to the NFL. What he didn't realize was that's not what they were doing. It's just everybody else in the bathroom with him had their transistor radios with them.
Everybody in the stalls were all listening to Scully, yeah.
So that moment inadvertently had changed now like you just said, all of these you actually set me up perfectly. Now all of these stadiums now they have TVs, but they all put speakers in their bathrooms because this guy thought that that's what the Dodgers were doing in Dodger Stadium, but it was really everybody with their transistor radios. So his commentary was so good that everybody would bring their radios to the game, and I mean everybody. And he knew it. He would do things like if it was somebody's birthday, because he knew everybody had the radios in the stands. He would say, all right, everybody, on the count of 3, we're going to say, happy birthday, Tommy Lasorda, right? And then everybody would say, and the whole stadium at the same time would say, happy birthday, Tommy Lasorda. It was just crazy shit like that, and anyway, he, maybe the most, one of the most iconic, maybe the most iconic sports announcers of all time. So I can't even think. I don't think there would be a wrestling comp. I don't know, Lance Russell,
nobody.
Ross,
no one's this.
There's no comp.
There's no
comp. There's no comp.
There will never, and there never will be another comp. There will never be another Vince Scully. There just won't. There just will.
No, there can't be.
There can't be, and there won't be.
You can't. No one will work for that long. First of all, not on the big time stage. I mean, there's more outlets to get that kind of work. But
he started at 22 years old, I think. Like no one's hiring a 22-year-old play-by-play guy to commentate games for a major league. Like that's just not happening.
You might get hired right out of college and work in obscurity doing small-time college games or minor league baseball.
Yeah, indie ball, minor league ball, maybe. I know people that have gone on that path, and a lot of them don't get real jobs, like real jobs with like actual affiliated minor league teams until they're like 32, 33. I have a buddy who just recently got hired by a minor league team after doing indie ball and college ball, and in addition doing several other jobs as well. It's just it's not the same way that he got.
No, this guy called the biggest sports in the world basically from when he was 20 to 90.
Right.
You're never getting that again.
Nor is anybody working until they're 90. They're gonna at 65 be like, I think I'm good. I think I'm gonna go enjoy my retirement. So
I mean, a lot of these guys work till they're dead, but they don't live that long. It's like Dick Enberg. He never really. Well, he did retire. I think he died like 6 months after he retired.
Oh yeah, almost immediately. Yeah.
He was calling Padre games after local Padre games after his network career ended, just to keep working. And I know that he didn't get good reviews. He wasn't, he got old. I mean, he's fucking got. That's the thing about Vince Scully. He got old, but never lost a step.
Yeah, Vince Scully from 1974 was almost the same as Vince Scully in 2014, and that's pretty remarkable too.
Yeah, and I would watch those Padre games with Enberg just because, again, Enberg was it was a comfort listen. I'd watch the Padre, I'd watch the Dodgers with Vince Scully, and there's not many guys left in baseball that. There's none really. I mean, they were the last two, So, anyway, that was Vince Scully. So Bill Russell died too.
Yeah. Well, real quick on Vince Scully. And I know you don't want Dynamite spoilers here on a live Flagship on a Wednesday, but you will find. And I guess I should mention this for people because I saw a lot of confusion on Twitter. Excalibur started the show today, not with the "It's Wednesday." You know what that means. He says it's time for AEW Dynamite. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant. Good evening to you wherever you may be, which was...
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
How Vince Scully started every single Dodger game. So, yeah, if you were wondering, what is he doing? Why is he not doing the Brody Lee thing? It's because he was doing the Vince Scully thing for this week.
Yeah.
So an Excalibur, a dyed-in-the-wool LA guy through and through, for sure that Scully meant a lot to him and his life. So, yeah, a good little nod there from Excalibur. So if you're wondering why Dynamite started off more weird than usual or with a weird phrase that you've never heard before if you're not a baseball fan, that is what that was. That was Vince Scully's iconic beginning for Dodger games. So,
and if you don't think Tony Khan was all about that too, then you're nuts.
Oh, absolutely.
He's all about history and all of that, and he's obviously a huge sports fan and all that too. So,
And then Bill Russell. We won't get into a ton. I if you want to, I did an hour and 15 minutes on Bill Russell on my my NBA history podcast, Over and Back NBA.com. If you want to listen to that. It was me, myself, Jason Mann, who used to host the WrestleSpective podcast that many people I know have said, oh, wow, I didn't know you hosted a show with Jason. I know Jason from WrestleSpective. Yeah, it's the same Jason. And then Dr. Curtis Harris joined us as well. A very, very long discussion, hour and 15 minutes or so on Bill Russell. But yeah, like quite literally the greatest winner in sports history. 21-0 in elimination games, going back to his college days. Like, just never lost a game where it mattered, pretty much ever. 11 rings, more rings than fingers, you know.
You want to give the exact stat to people because, you know, I know you know it. People might not know it.
Yeah. So, let me get the exact one here.
I got it. This is the Bob Bryan thing that he always brings up.
Yep.
So here it is. In Russell's final 14 years as a player, his teams participated in 21 winner-take-all contests, 9 NCAA tournament games, 1 Olympic gold medal game, 10 NBA Game 7s, and 1 NBA Game 5, and Bill Russell won all 21 games. Yeah. That's disgusting. Yep. That's impossible. You know, and he didn't exactly play for a college powerhouse either.
No, yeah, I mean, University of San Francisco, not exactly the Dons, right? Aren't they the Dons?
Yeah, he didn't go to UCLA.
Right, yeah. Okay, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won a lot of college games as well, but he was playing, not taking anything away from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he was playing for John Wooden and UCLA. Good team, good pedigree, good background there, yeah.
He didn't go to Kansas like Will Chamberlain did. Okay, he went to the University of San Francisco. Okay, West Coast Conference.
Which Dons. I've been to. I drove by the University of San Francisco, and I always knew that college because of Bill Russell. And then I drove by it when I was in San Francisco once, and it's tiny. It's nothing. It's the small. I'm thinking, oh, USF, that must have, been a pretty big deal. No, it is so small. It is nothing, compared to some of these other colleges you go to, and it's, these 2-mile long stretches of giant buildings. University of San Francisco is like it's like 2 blocks, you know what I mean? And that's where he went and basically helped them, along with Sam Jones as well, who would come along with him in the NBA as well, turn them into an NCAA powerhouse in basketball. And just because Bill Russell was Bill Russell, and he didn't lose. He never fucking lost, ever.
Yeah, he just didn't fucking lose, And he was beating the aforementioned Will Chamberlain. And, he was beating Jerry West, when he got to the NBA. So, wasn't he the first black NBA coach?
He was. Yep, first black NBA, or first black coach in any of the
any of the 4 major sports,
any of the 4 major sports. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and obviously his civil rights stuff was just, it would take us all 3 hours.
Right. And like I said, if you want to go into that, we had Dr. Curtis Harris who did a dissertation about the NBA and civil rights and stuff like that. So if you want, that is the great podcast to listen to for that, because basically 45 minutes of that is us talking about his non-basketball stuff. What he did elsewhere, how important he was, and just reminding you of how not that long ago a lot of this stuff was. We talked about with, a connection from Vince Scully to the Civil War with Connie Mack or whatever. You have, Bill Russell, who was invited by Martin Luther King to stand with him on the steps, and said, I haven't earned that. You've earned that. I haven't. I'm not going to do it. But also was there with Muhammad Ali when Muhammad Ali made the decision to not go to Vietnam. Was there, was participated in a basketball camp in Mississippi where they told him, you do this basketball camp or we're going to kill you. And he just said, well, I'm doing the basketball camp anyway, so fuck off. And he did it. He just did. He said, I don't care. Then fucking kill me then. I'm doing the basketball camp, and did it. Just incredible and stuff that he lived through. Obviously had to do multiple boycotts of various things so that he could, eat in restaurants. That's the, and he's not that, and we're talking about a guy again who just died on Sunday that was not allowed to eat in certain restaurants with the rest of his teammates.
This wasn't 100 years ago.
No, not that long ago, where the rest of his teammates would walk into a restaurant and they would tell him, no, you and these guys, they can't come in this restaurant. You guys got to go. So fought against that. Huge impact on the NBA player union becoming a thing as well. So just, and so much so, and just such a great winner that the NBA Finals MVP award named after him, and he would give it to the NBA Finals MVP until a couple years ago where, obviously COVID got in the way of that, and he was, worried about COVID and stuff, so he was not there for the final couple years of that award. But yeah, one of the NBA's all-time great winners, just an incredible player, incredible human being as well, Bill Russell. So did commentary as well. When we're speaking about commentary, was pretty damn good at it too. Not didn't mince any words. If you want to go back and listen to any commentary with Bill Russell, he was very, very opinionated about the players and what they were doing wrong and what they could, but in a good way. You know what I mean? In like a way where it's like, well, it's Bill Russell. He's allowed to tell you that you suck and you're not doing something right because he's Bill Russell and he's incredible and he's an all-time winner. So yeah, he's gonna do that. But yeah, just an awesome guy and a great quote that I wanted to bring up here about Bill Russell. Let me get the exact quote here. I have it. It's from Tommy Heinsohn, who, speaking of commentators, legendary commentator for the Boston Celtics. Probably another one. No one ever like Tommy Heinsohn either. That will ever come up again. But just to speak about what Bill Russell went through, especially in Boston, he says, look, this is a quote from him. Look, all I know, the guy won 2 NCAA championships, 50-some college games in a row, the 1956 Olympics. Then he came to Boston and won 11 championships in 13 years, and they named a fucking tunnel after Ted Williams.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. And that's like not even a shot at Ted Williams as much as a shot at Boston.
Right. So
yeah. And champion high jumper, Bill Russell.
Of course, yeah. Why wouldn't he also excel at everything that he did? Yeah.
At another sport, right? And this idea that he only won because he's on those stacked Celtic teams will explain 2 NCAA championships at San Francisco.
Right.
Okay, explain.
You know why those Celtics teams are really good? Well, because they have Bill Russell.
He may have had something to do
right,
with it.
He may have just waltz in and say, hey, all right, team's winning. Well, I'm just going to fill in here and figure you guys out. No, transform the NBA. Blocked, dunks, all that sort of stuff. I mean, yeah, Wilt Chamberlain's kind of credited with bringing the dunk to the NBA. Well, Bill Russell just as important at bringing the dunk to the NBA and more than anything, bringing the block to the NBA, where just the verticality, the athleticism, everything he was able to do, just completely different. It's a totally different game, especially when you watch old Boston Celtics games. Like, you watch stuff prior to Bill Russell, and then you watch Bill Russell stuff, and it's just like, oh, okay, wow, this is a completely, like, fast breaks, outlet passes, blocks, dunks, like, the modern game, a lot of the stuff that you're seeing still today, he's the guy that basically said, hey, I'm going to do this in this league. And I don't care if it's showy and I don't care if people don't want me to dunk and people don't want me to do this. I don't give a shit. I'm going to do it because I'm going to win. And he won more than anybody. So.
Oh, by the way, 2-time champion as a coach.
Yes.
As a player coach.
Mm-hmm. As a player coach.
So, yeah.
Classic player coach. Yeah, that will never happen again, I don't think. Those days are very long gone.
Yep, that's something else you'll never see again. Okay? Let alone you win 2 titles as a player coach. He had a whole-ass career as a coach while he was a player.
Mm-hmm.
A whole-ass Hall of Fame career as a coach while he was also a player coaching himself. So, his backup for a lot of that time, legendary Georgetown Hoya coach John Thompson.
Oh, of course.
Backup Backup center on a lot of those Celtic teams, backing up Bill Russell. John Thompson, who went to Providence. A lot of people think he went to Georgetown. He did not.
Oh, he was a Providence guy. I didn't know that either.
He went to Providence, then to the Celtics, backed up Bill Russell for a few years, and then in the early 70s took over a Georgetown program that was not on the map at all, and obviously put it on the map, but we digress. We could probably do the tentacles off of Bill Russell and
I know we could really do.
And Scully.
If it was a light week, we might just say screw wrestling this week. Wrestling's dumb and stupid, and wrestling is dumb and stupid. We'll get to that here in a moment. Wrestling does kind of stink all around right now, but there's important events that we do have to talk about. But I kind of wish we could just do the Vince Scully, Bill Russell tentacles podcast. But another time, I guess. Well, I don't know. There probably won't be another time to do it. We should just do it today. Screw it. SummerSlam, dumb, stupid show. Don't watch it. Triple H sucks. Same shit. Tiny little bars. He's wrong. Ric Flair, last match. Uncomfortable, weird. G1 Climax, kind of boring. Dragongate was fun then, I guess. I guess we'll have to talk Dragongate. So. I'm just trying to get through the other stuff so we can just do the Bill Russell.
You want to break down the 56 Olympics and
let's do it.
Talk about that U.S. gold medal. But unfortunately, no, we cannot do that. So we do have to talk about some wrestling until someone else dies. Someone brings up a good point. Bob Uecker's still going.
Bob Uecker is still going, yeah. So there is one left in the Vince Scully
baseball, yeah.
Yeah.
Does he just do radio or does he do some TV also?
I think he just does radio. Used to do both, but I feel like at this point he's just radio, I want to say. Maybe somebody that's a Brewers fan can chime in. I think he's just radio at this point. Yeah. He has a wrestling connection. He was on multiple WrestleManias, so.
As he was. Bob Uecker. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think Red Barber hung him up, right? I don't think Red Barber's doing that.
I don't think Red Barber is doing it. I think hasn't Red Barber been dead for? I think Red Barber's been dead for like 2 decades, right?
Red Barber's not calling games anymore.
I don't think Red Barber's calling games anymore. Yeah, Red Barber died in 1992, Joe. So no, he has not been calling games for a while. No, he's been hung it up a few years ago. So
no, Ernie Harwell.
Ernie Harwell also, I believe, dead and also no longer doing games. Chick Hearn also no longer doing games.
Lakers.
Yeah. So there was a few. There was So Euchre is the last of that universe.
How about Mel Allen? Mel Allen's still hanging around?
Mel Allen, I don't think Mel Allen is still good. Mel Allen died before. Yeah, when did he die? Yeah, I was gonna say. All right, so he was not before Red Barber. He was after Red Barber. But
Red Barber. Yeah.
I don't think I was. Yeah, I was what, 4 or 5 when Red Barber died. So yeah, not.
Yeah, those are the guys. But listen,
that's the guys. Yeah.
All joking aside, this was Vince Scully's. These were his. What's the word I'm looking for? These were his. Yes, these were his contemporaries. People who've been dead for 30 years, and he called games for 25, 30 years after these guys were dead, and he was still calling games. So.
Red Barber was the catbird seat guy, right? He started the catbird seat, if I remember correctly, right? Hawk Harrelson would use catbird seat a lot as well. So,
you got to borrow from the greats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Hawk Harrelson's still going?
No, he's not. All
right.
Thankfully.
Too bad.
No, not too bad.
Put it on the board.
You can have him. He's still alive if you want him. So. I hear the Reds have some openings, or they have some openings on Kyle. Well, they filled. I'm sure they filled that void already. But,
the Brennemans are gone.
Yeah, I was going to say they had an opening. They could have called old Hawkaroo.
Marty Brenneman was in that class. He's gone.
Yeah.
Tom wasn't quite. Well, Tom made a career on the national scene calling other sports.
Right.
But yeah, his father Marty was a fucking crony with all these other guys. He's gone too. So yeah, you got Euchre is basically it. I wouldn't put John Sterling and Susan Waldman in that class.
No.
Sterling, he's like almost 90, but he didn't jump in calling Yankee games till a little later in the game. So he's not in this. Plus, he's not anywhere near as good as he's got his shtick and everything.
No,
but
he also stinks.
We're really
he stinks.
We really. Right. Well, I mean, look, he stinks, but like he's got his shtick, and if you're a Yankee fan, let me put it to you this way. I know a lot of Yankees, as bad as Sterling and Waldman are, and they are bad, a lot of people hate Michael Kay so much that they will listen to the radio.
Okay, that's true. when presented those two options, that's true. I might take the 90-year-old and the woman who sounds like she's screaming at a deli or something like that. It's quite the.
She's pretty bad too. But the Roger Clemens clip. Oh my goodness gracious!
George's box. He's in George's box. Just stops commentating the game to scream about Roger Clemens in George's box. Yeah,
of all the things I've ever seen.
All the things I've ever seen. That's true. Big deal getting Roger back in the fold.
Oh man, we should do a sports commentary podcast.
We really should, yeah.
It sounds like a great idea, and then the time has to go, and then you're like, fuck that, I ain't putting that kind of effort in, But unless we dump this thing, we can always dump the flagship on the side of the road.
Yeah, this thing's dumb. This is getting stupid.
So. We're pot committed now, though. It's pot committed, buddy. There's no escape now.
Oh, God.
It's it's a nice little taste every month. I got to be honest. It's pot committed, my friend.
Yeah, flagshippatreon.com has definitely made it a little easier. So,
got to do some wrestling though eventually here.
We do, Robert. Then I will do the wrestling. Robert brings up a good point. John Miller for the Giants, probably the closest to those guys in terms.
Yeah,
of, he's a little different, and he obviously did a lot of national stuff, but he's very close in the sense that very grandfatherly, tends to keep it at one tone the entire time. We'll get excited only when it really calls for it, but most of the time he's kind of got some dulcet tones, you know what I mean? Just kind of always in the same sphere most of the time. So John Miller's a good pull. I'd say he's pretty close to that.
Yeah, Miller's a good one. This Robert Collard, he's got his shit together. He knows what he's talking about. He brought up Euchre. He brought up Miller.
Yeah, there you go. Robert Collard, thank you for being one less dope in the No Dopes chat room.
Yeah, it's
still a dope, but less of a dope than these other dopes.
Well, it's the No Dopes chat. He's living up to the.
That's true, and particularly on a Wednesday when we're head to head with Dynamite. These are these are the knowest of the no dopes for sure.
These are the flagship soldiers in there tonight. Let me tell you, because there's no one in there. We go ahead there with Dynamite. Forget it. It's like, there's that Venn diagram. It's pretty much a perfect circle of people who enjoy Dynamite and enjoy the show. So it gets pretty ugly, but Collard's on top of things. He's contributing very well here. He's a long time subscriber.
Oh yeah, he's been around.
I recognize that name. Yeah, I know that guy. I know the face.
You know the
face.
That guy. You've met?
Yeah, he's got his face. No, he's had his face on the fucking avatars on the various gimmicks. Yeah, guy's been around for years. So,
you're gonna find out you probably did meet him at some point. And you don't remember meeting him.
Maybe now I insulted the poor guy.
Right? He's like, I shook your hand in Dallas. You're like, oh, I'm sorry. Like,
I shook 150 hands in Dallas. You got to cut me a break. It's a nonstop assembly line of, are you Joe Lanza? Yeah. How do you even know that? Like, I don't have any photos on. They just know. They sniff you out, Rich. It happens to you. It's incredible.
Yeah, I get my voice. Someone will turn around and say, Rich? I'm like, oh, God. How? How do you have how do you have the balls to just be like, hey, who I think that is? I think it's this guy. I'm going to go turn to this. I could never do that. I could never just turn to somebody and be like, hey, I think I know who you are. I would never have the confidence to do that.
Yeah, what if you're wrong?
Because the person's like, who, what? I'd be like, well, I'm going to crawl into a hole and just disappear, forever. Or we're in line to go to a wrestling show. And if I turn around and was like, hey, you're blank blank. And he's like, I don't know who that is. And I'd be like, oh, I'd probably just leave the line. I'd go to the back of the line. I can't stand next to that guy. I can't stand 100 feet from that guy for the rest of for another hour. As he's looking at his friends, who the fuck's this guy? What the hell's this guy talking about?
I don't want to derail again, but didn't Joey Janela know you just by the voice?
Yes, he did. Yeah. And that's when I didn't know if we were quite,
right.
The best place with Joey.
Yeah, it went all right.
It was fine. He was like, I think he just hated you, which is fine. I'm like, I hate Joe too. I'm with you.
No, what happened was you shifted the heat to me. That's how
That's right. I was like, well, Joe said that. He's like, oh, yeah, all right, fuck that guy. And I was like, yeah, you're right, Joe.
Yeah, you shifted the heat to me, which is, let's be fair. I've brought enough heat to you over the years. If you want to shift some heat to me, I'm okay with that. I never leave my little hole in College Station, Texas anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
That's why you're always like, oh, I'm going to bury these guys, and Rich doesn't want me to bury these guys. I'm like, yeah, because I have to go to these shows. You never leave the house. I have to go and be with these people sometimes. So I can't, have you relentlessly bury everybody that I have to then meet, a couple days later. So,
what do you want from me?
Just not bury everybody. But...
It ain't the first hole I dug. What do you want from me?
I dug a few. Yeah, I can handle some holes too. It's all right.
Yeah, where's the shovel?
Anyway, all right, so let's get to the actual show itself here. Let's talk about World Wrestling Entertainment, Joe, because I've heard that it is good again, that WWE is good again. Paul Levesque has come in. He's cleaned house. Wrestling is back. Michael Cole is saying referees' names. Ali is still losing, but he's wrestling for longer, so that's good. Ciampa is doing things. That's good. Tell me all about how WWE is great again, Joe. You watched Raw, I'd imagine, and you can tell me all about how great Raw was, because I heard it was fantastic. I watched SummerSlam. I heard that was a great show. We'll talk about that. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I've heard Raw was spectacular. Just an incredible professional wrestling show from newfound pro wrestling company, World Wrestling Entertainment.
This is trademark Rich Craich smarm that I'm detecting. I'm detecting.
No, I didn't watch Raw, but I heard rave reviews about it. So
Rich Craich smarm. There's a lot of ways we could attack this. Let me just put it to you this way. I started to write a column on Raw, and the title of the column was "Same Old Sorry Ass Raw." So that probably tells you how I felt.
Not
about
what
Raw.
I've heard though, Joe. So I don't know. You're taking it from a different approach than I heard. I heard it was a great show with a lot of great changes.
Okay, listen.
And momentum.
I'm never going to finish that column. I've moved on to other things. There's also what I've learned over the years. There's a time and a place to piss in people's cornflakes. So I'm going to lay low on that, and we'll just, we'll discuss it here on the flagship, of course. But a lot of ways to approach this. First of all, I don't think it was a terrible Raw. But I also don't think there was anything special about the Raw. If I had to describe it to you, Rich, as someone who didn't watch it, I'd say that it was a firmly average edition of Monday Night Raw, skewing slightly above average on the Vince curve. Vince did better Raws than this. Vince probably did a couple Raws per year that were a little better than this one. But Vince did a lot of Raws that were way worse than this one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This was a replacement level 3-hour television
right
show.
From the people that I do trust, and not just people that I necessarily I don't know what their intent is or what they're watching a lot of times, but from the people that I do trust and the people the reviews that I did see, most people were like, hey, you know what, there were some things that were pretty cool and stuff kind of made sense and things seem to build up logically. And honestly, after the last couple of years, that's all you could really ask out of WWE. And that's what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. That's the bar right now. That's the bare minimum for WWE is don't be the drizzling shits show that Vince McMahon was putting on for the last 4 to 5 years. Just don't be that. And you're going to get as much praise as, and we've seen that. We saw it in real happen over the course of the last 2 weeks. And we talked about how they could have went out on Raw 2 weeks ago and could have done the most basic, simple things, say wrestling, call a few moves, do a few things, and they would have had people tripping over themselves to praise them for, oh my God, look at the change that has happened. Okay, WWE is good again. And just baseline, have stuff kind of make sense a little bit. Let people wrestle for a few minutes. Let good wrestlers wrestle for a few minutes, and you're going to get immense praise from all walks of life, because it just is going to feel like, oh my God, the show isn't horrible anymore. It isn't horrific anymore, and for some reason I feel obligated to watch it every single week. And that's kind of feels like, from the people that I trust, and it seems like what you're saying as well, is what Raw was. It was just like a perfectly okay wrestling show, and that's all people really want at this point in WWE, given what we've gotten over the last couple of years with Vince McMahon.
It was a perfectly competent pro wrestling show that didn't do anything that makes me want to watch next week whatsoever. There were no sweeping changes. I would say this too: if you were a quote unquote casual fan who didn't know anything about who was running the show or that there were these hyped changes going on, I don't think you would have noticed a difference between this week and 3 weeks ago in terms of just how the show felt. And now me, who, does this stuff, for a living, yes, I noticed this very, very subtle changes that were made. There's way less, cringy comedy that isn't funny. But again, this is only 1 week.
Right. No 24/7, but again, it's only 1 week,
no 24/7. There were more matches that were given more time, but the thing is, none of those matches knocked my socks off, which again speaks to the bar, which is basically placed beneath the earth with a lot of people who watch this show, where just a competent 3-star pro wrestling match that goes 11 minutes, and we're creating memes talking about how they're putting out bangers. I mean, the matches were okay, but there was nothing. There were no special match, or there's no matches on this show that anyone will be talking about in a month, let alone a year, let alone 5 years. They didn't come out and have make a statement with some match of the year contender with their 2 best wrestlers. No, there's nothing like that. There were nice little 3-star matches on the show. The wrestling was competent. There were 2 matches that didn't have a finish in typical Raw fashion. There were interminably long in-ring promos in typical Raw fashion. The production and the camera work is still just as bad and annoying as ever, despite the fact that people are pretending it isn't. The commentary, again, if you're not specifically listening hard to see differences, there's no difference in the commentary. They're screeching a little less. They're hammering home the stories a little less. But again, a common viewer would not notice any of these things. The point here is they haven't made, and look, it's obvious that Triple H isn't going to make sweeping changes. Is he going to keep making small, gradual changes that eventually lead to more weeks like this, where it's a competent pro wrestling show that you might not want to turn off in the first 40 minutes? Maybe. But based on what I saw this past Monday, I feel like there's probably some bad ones coming too, because it isn't far enough removed from what we were getting during the Vince era. But the thing about it is a lot of people were very excited for this, and there was a lot of excitement. And, what I find odd is, a lot of the outlets that seemingly enjoyed Raw before were singing the praises of this Raw and talking about how much. Well, does that mean you were being disingenuous before then? That confuses me.
Right, you can't have it both ways. It can't have
I don't
improved.
understand that.
We're doing the this guy, the constantly improving thing. How are you improving on an already, what you considered a very good show?
You were telling us the show was good already, and that we were just being, that people were just being assholes about it. Well, I mean, but now you're telling me all these things that are. I don't know. The other thing that bothered me last Monday is it's very clear. Very clear. And this is where I get the show in trouble and Rich tugs his collar.
That's fine. Go for it. Why not?
It was very clear to me last Monday that WWE PR astroturfed all of the media that they know they can get to hype people up for this show. We had the Sasha and Naomi story that got leaked a few hours before Raw.
This is going to be a statement show, and then it was followed up on a bunch of other places going with the Sasha and Naomi stuff, and then people saying...
Even outside of Sasha and Naomi, a lot of prominent pro wrestling reporters and websites were tweeting in the hours before the show, oh, we're told that this is going to be a
USA Network. I heard from a USA Network executive that they are super excited about tonight's show or something.
Yeah, and the whole Statement Raw tweet and the whole, all these different tweets from all the typical places that are going to be fed this kind of stuff. And, I'm not saying that these reporters or these sites are in cahoots. I mean, they're being told things by their sources, and they're passing them along to their customer base or whatever. But it's very clear WWE put a lot of effort into that last Monday to sort of build up hype for this and get a lot of people to watch. And a lot of people did watch. They did 2.2 million viewers. Now, we talked about it last week. If they're going to do big, NXT did a good number on Tuesday. Raw just did a good number. Raw and SmackDown were up the week before. People are going to be curious about this new Triple H era. And last week, we talked about how we were disappointed that they didn't take advantage of it or do anything. I think this week they did.
Right. Maybe a little bit of holding pattern last week, or hey, Vince already wrote the show, so we'll just do this dumb show. There's a little bit more time, so next week we'll kind of have our own way. This was obviously a show that judging by the results and the reviews that I saw and stuff, felt like a show that probably Triple H wrote his own, or his creative team, him and his team,
no doubt,
wrote on their own. Yeah,
I still think it was overhyped at the end of the day, but I think that all of that PR work they did earlier in the day helps with that, because people are excited to review it and watch it and all those sorts of things. And I think that that was very noticeable to me and very obvious. But you knew the shows would be up for a while with this curiosity. They did more to take advantage. Somebody planted the Sasha Banks story with that, dustywrestling.co site or whatever. And what's interesting is, unless I'm wrong, you can correct me. Someone in the chat can correct me. I haven't seen any of the big three confirm that Sasha story, and that's Dave Meltzer, Sean Ross Sapp, or Mike Johnson. Am I wrong about that?
You would be correct. Yeah, I didn't see anything from any of those people. The only thing close in that direction was Sapp doing the Statement Raw, quote, with statement in quotes, which everybody kind of took to mean that he was hinting at.
Thanks,
but it was vague enough where you could say, no, I just meant it was gonna, So a little bit of plausible deniability from Sapp if you want, but no, he didn't confirm it one way or another. Meltzer, I didn't read the Observer this. It's not out by the time we're recording this, so not sure, but didn't hear anything from him on F4W Online, and I don't believe Mike Johnson said anything either. So no.
So I'm sure if one of those three confirmed the Sasha Naomi thing, someone in the chat will tell us, because they're always on top of that. Brian Alvarez said that he also heard that the Sasha Naomi thing was true, but it was a soft confirmation.
I think what he said is that they are due back imminently, or there's plans to bring them back. I don't think he was as much on they're going to be here tonight, but more just that their plans are in place to bring them back at some point.
So according to the chat, Dave's latest is that talks have resumed. My point here is, until Dave, Sean, or Mike Johnson confirm this, I'll believe it when they show up on my TV screen. Now, would I bet that they're not coming back? I wouldn't. I think the betting money is on they are coming back. But at the same time, let me tell you something, Rich. if Sean Ross Sapp had this story, don't you think he'd put it behind his little paywall?
I do. Of course.
Of course. And why? And as well
as he should. As he should. Yes.
And he don't have it. Dave, as we see, doesn't have it. He says they just resumed. This is not official yet. So I don't know. Before we throw roses at Triple H, I'm just saying I'd like to see Sasha Banks on my TV screen. Naomi, I don't really care about, but I would like to see Sasha on my TV screen before I declare this Triple H righting some wrongs. Now, he did bring back Io Shirai and Dakota Kai. Those undoubtedly were his moves at SummerSlam because Vince did not want either of those people on the main roster. He tried them out, didn't like them, told them to hit the bricks. They both had one. Kai was cut, and Io Shirai had 1 foot out the door. So those were Triple H moves there. Dakota Kai was so gone that she changed her name. She changed her name to King Coda or
King
whatever.
Coda, King Coda.
So these are total triple. So good on him because they're very talented, and he should bring them back. And shame on Tony Khan if he didn't close the deal with Dakota Kai. I mean, he should have got that done any way he could have. I understand she's close to a lot of people there. Her partner works for the company, and I don't know. I'm not going to go into who that is just because people might get mad and all those sorts of. So I get it. Like her preference probably would have been to stay with the company, right? But still, I mean, I would have put. You know how I feel about Dakota Kai. I think she's. You do too.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Yeah, I would have whatever it needed, whatever it was required to give her. You know, within some reason, some measure of reason, but whatever was required to bring her to your company, you got to do that. You got to do whatever it is and say, I know that there's this, and I know that there's this, and I know there's this reason, but here's this, and you slide that offer on the table, and you make it an offer that she can't possibly refuse because you completely transform your women's division with her.
And maybe he did.
Right, and maybe he did. Or maybe her demands were without, like I said, within reason. Maybe her demands were out of reason, and he just said, all right, I can do this, you what, and this is the most I can do. So
she thought she was done, though, because she changed her name and all her social media.
Oh, she was ready, yeah. She was ready to do the next chapter of her life, for sure.
But, Triple H, again, this is what we talked about last week, too, and a lot of people were in denial of this. He has relationships with a lot of these people. He's going to bring people back. There's a lot of people who loved working for him. And there's a lot of people that he loved booking that Vince just didn't get, and they were gone. Here's another, and I don't want to go off into a tangent here because we easily could, but can we finally put to bed the notion that Nick Khan personally made the decision to fire all of these people and not Vince McMahon?
I still can't believe people actually thought that. That was the best. Like, I just love the idea of a sweaty Nick Khan just bursting into, Vince McMahon's office and being like, no way, Jose's got to go. I'm sorry, Vince.
Yeah.
I got to make the call here. No way's got to go. And Vince, puts his glasses down like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No way, Jose. Right. No, I'm not going to do
it. No. And then Vince goes, well, if you say so, Nick.
Yeah, well, Nick, if it must be, it must be. I'll tell Jose he's got to go.
Tell John to let him go. I don't want to.
Yeah, Nick Khan, especially when there was on some of those lists of WWE releases were people that Nick Khan had no idea who those people were. No earthly idea who half of those human beings were.
He was more than happy to take the online heat. I mean,
he doesn't care.
He literally said that.
He said on a report, I'll be the bad
guy.
Blame
me. I don't care. Blame me. I don't care. So as soon as Vince is gone, Triple H starts bringing some of these people back. If Nick Khan was the executioner and he was making all the calls, it wouldn't be the case. So we can finally
looking at the WWE roster, going Tegan Knox. I just don't see it with her, Vince.
Yeah,
she's got to go. He doesn't know who Tegan Knox is.
A man who does semi-frequent media appearances and constantly says, "I don't do anything with the on-screen product. That's not my department. I have nothing to do with it." But yet people still. So can we finally put that to bed? Okay, I mean, we've now disproven
at most,
that.
What happened was Nick Khan would hand a spreadsheet, or Nick Khan's assistant would hand Vince a spreadsheet and say, "Hey, can we cut any of these people?"
Not even people. Can we cut X amount of dollars?
Right. Yeah.
Figure out what you need to do to get
exactly.
there. Yeah. So there's that facet of it too.
I still can't believe that was a real thing for a while, but yes, I think we can officially put that to bed today on August 3rd, 2022. That is officially put to bed.
Look, this was, towards the end of this Raw, I have to admit I was kind of bored. So my feeling is...
Well, it's still 3 hours. I mean, it's still a 3-hour show.
And look, they can't do anything about that. Because as we know, it has to be 3 hours. You want the $1 billion deals, USA wants the third hour. I can guarantee you that if Triple H had his way, if the money was all equal, he'd do 2 hours. I mean, anyone in their right mind would do the 2 hours, but the money isn't equal. So they have to do the 3. It's still a slog to get through. My feeling is if Raw is of this exact quality every week, that 2.2 will trickle back down to 1.7, in no time. I don't think that this show was good enough to where, because I went in with an open mind and I have no interest in watching next week. They didn't do enough for me. It still felt like the same old sorry ass Raw to me, just with longer matches and some of the cringiest shit no longer being done. But that still didn't make this, to me, anything. And this isn't a television show I'm buzzing about. Not at all. I mean, not even close. I mean, like a real good Dynamite or one of those classic post WrestleMania Raws that would have people buzzing for a couple
like the massive reset Raws where just the whole thing would change and new people would come and all new stories and all. Yeah, it didn't. It just didn't seem like that from the reviews I saw. It didn't seem like
a lot
that
of this
side
was
of Raw.
No. A lot of this was people really wanting it to be that and being excited about it. And you know what? Again, I'm not going to piss in people's cornflakes this week. Okay, if people enjoyed it and they're being optimistic, because they have reason to be optimistic. It is possible that this can continue to change for the better and actually become a watchable product. I'm just skeptical for the reasons we talked about last week that we're not going to rehash all over again. In short, I don't feel there's motivation to completely rehash the show. I don't see the motivation or the reason. And it's funny that Raw did 2.2 million viewers, right? Because that's the number that SmackDown generally tops out at. Rich, this is it. They've got 2.2 million people who watch this shit.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. That was the exact number we gave you. It's 2.2 million.
Yeah, I mean that's it. So and to me, shows of this quality, it's got. And remember, not only that, we're coming off a pay-per-view too, a pay-per-view that was generally well received. So here's what helped this thing: the astroturfing of the wrestling media all Monday afternoon, planting the seeds of Sasha coming back. Coming off of a well-received pay-per-view.
I love that. Nobody cares about Naomi. Poor Naomi.
I throw her in. Fine. Naomi too.
It's just coming off of. I added it there because it's so funny. Everyone's just like, Sasha. And Naomi too. Yeah, maybe.
Coming off of a well-received pay-per-view. First hour commercial free.
Big important thing too to not leave out. The first hour commercial free.
And then, of course, we still have lingering curiosity because remember, both shows were up last week. Lingering curiosity over the changes that are going to be made with the new guy in charge. That's a lot of factors. This better have worked.
Yeah, it should have gotten 2.2 million.
Yeah, and it did. And that commercial-free first hour is important because, as we know, after we have gotten our grubby little hands on minute-by-minutes and things like that, the number one factor in people changing a channel is going to commercial. It's not even close. It's the number one factor by a mile. It's why AEW does picture-in-picture. It's why WWE, for some of their shows, does picture-in-picture. Because those commercial breaks are the number one reason that people will change the channel. And then they're at risk of finding a game or a movie or something else on TV that catches their attention and they don't come back. So you go a full first hour with no commercials, I mean, that's huge. So that helped too. But again, just to wrap up the Raw portion of this, since you didn't watch and I'm doing all the talking here, and this is a 2-man show, so we got to get Rich in the mix. We got to do the SummerSlam.
Oh, we do. Well, we got a little Triple H quote that I want to get to first, and then we'll get to the SummerSlam.
But to wrap it up, my feeling is if they keep pumping out these, as the kids say on the streets, Rich, I know you love when I do this. This Raw was very mid, sir.
Oh, wow.
So if they keep pumping these out, I don't think they're going to hold this wasn't anything special. So I think if you take away the excitement of WWE astroturfing everybody and telling them it was going to be special and then convincing them that it was, a Raw like this in 6 weeks, no one will talk about
it. And you could try the astroturfing thing over and over and over again, but people are going to eventually catch on that every week they're doing this, or every week is
and it loses effect. You can't do it every week. They tried that with the Fast Nationals, and the only person still doing it is the cheese board dork because everybody caught on to what was happening.
Right.
So, and it loses its effect anyway. So
yeah, because you're going to make them look like idiots too. You're going to make these people tweeting and these people reporting. They're going to start looking like idiots if every single week they tell you, "Oh, this is going to be a huge Raw," and then it's not. Then they're going to start like the Fast Nationals. They're eventually going to start saying, you know what? I'm just not going to report this. I'm not going to tweet this out. So it'll be interesting to see.
Nice little show is what it was. A nice little show.
All right,
you want to do SummerSlam or you want to do Triple H?
Let's talk about old Paul Levesque because he was on the Impulsive podcast, Joe. I know one of your favorite podcasts, Logan Paul's podcast, videocast thing that I definitely knew existed before yesterday, and I know you definitely did as well, Impulsive. And Triple H says that some of the old lies are still the new lies. Joey says, "I'll say this about Vince, massive shoes that I couldn't even dream of beginning to think how I could fill. The gap there is in this moment is massive, but the opportunity to take it in a direction that it's never gone before is massive." He needs a new word other than massive. "I'm thrilled for that opportunity. We have an unbelievable team. It's never going to be one person. One person can't even begin to fill his shoes. It's going to take an entire team of people to jump into those shoes because without him, there's none of this." And then he mentioned about Vince McMahon's impact on the world of professional wrestling. He says, quote, "The vision to take this tiny little thing happening in bars to this big global sensation like nothing else. WrestleMania is one of the most valuable sports franchises on the planet."
Yeah, I mean, we've spent basically...
Yeah, I don't want to do that show again, but what I thought was interesting, and I don't know if we've inspired this or we've helped this, a lot of people push back on this quote. I saw a lot of tweets, a lot of people, a lot of photos, a lot of videos, a lot of people in reporters, prominent Twitter personalities, people that I know listen to this show, other people. And I'm not saying that I'm taking 100% credit for it, but this was a very eye-opening moment where he said this quote, and the majority of people said, "Dude, you're fucking wrong. Like, look at this picture of Shea Stadium in 1952. Look at this picture of this or this." I mean, just showing that these are not tiny little bars. These are giant arenas, giant stadiums, baseball stadiums, football stadiums, public squares. This idea that Vince McMahon took this thing out of, the old quote used to be Smoky Guard Armories. Now Triple H is using tiny little thing happening in bars. I was very proud to see a lot of people push back on this and go like, bro, that's not at all what the truth is. Brand Thurston from WrestleNomics was there too. A lot of prominent people pushing back on this quote, and I was very happy to see that because that's something that we have rallied against a lot. The idea that Vince McMahon took this thing from nothing and made it national, that's bullshit. We've talked about it for the last couple weeks. We talked about it on our Vince McMahon show that we did on FlagshipPatreon.com the night that he retired, quote unquote, resigned. We did that last week. I don't want to do it again, but I just thought it was a cool moment to see so many people rally against that talking point, that just horrifically untrue talking point that Paul Levesque is still spouting, believe it or not, despite the fact that he's changing everything and the culture's different and the it's going to be a wrestling show again and this and this and this and this and this, and here he is. WrestleMania is one of the most popular sports franchises in the planet, so if you think WrestleMania Backlash and WrestleMania this and WrestleMania that and WrestleMania Raw and WrestleMania SmackDown, you think that shit's going away, it's not. And if you think that the idea that WWE created pro wrestling and WWE made pro wrestling something big, if you think that's going away, that's not going away either. So
took it global, which is that one drives me nuts. Yeah, I know our audience already.
It's like Ricky Dozan existed, motherfucker.
It's like I know that our audience knows the history, and if they didn't, we've pounded it into their brains over the last 2 or 3 weeks, right?
Right.
But what really bothers me, and it really does bother me, is that there's so many people who have been completely indoctrinated by their version of history that don't know the real history, and are just they're indignant and will argue when people present the true history and the reality of the situation, and they act like you're the crazy one.
Right. And confidently will argue. I know there was a tweet that you sent me that one guy said, you know what, I think you could add up AEW and WWE's, attendances from, just
I'll give you it. Hold on.
And I was just like, and this guy, and you could tell when he hit that, he hit send and he slapped his hands together and was like, yeah, he's like, all right, prove me wrong, guys. And it's like, I think Trevor Dame, who has been on the Flagship Patreon shows and a longtime listener, was like, I could prove one territory outdrew them. Like Mid-South alone outdrew them. Like
it was I'm trying to find the it was just a random person.
Yeah, we don't have to bring up the actual
I'm not trying to embarrass the guy or anything, and I can't find the tweet, but to paraphrase, what the guy had replied to either Brandon's tweet or someone else's tweet about how just totally wrong that was, and how wrestling actually sold more tickets before Vince McMahon. Okay, which is what people can't. They think you're nuts when you say that because they just don't. They're ignorant to the history.
And you have to defend your side of the argument.
Yeah, and it's like in my side is like so
facts,
it's like 1,000,000%
and history,
right.
and truth.
and but what the guy's tweet said, to paraphrase his tweet, he said something along the lines of, "I'm willing to bet that at this past WrestleMania weekend, WWE and AEW sold more tickets in that week alone than all of the territories combined in any given year." That tweet that is the most wrong tweet of all time.
Very
wrong. You can't be more wrong. And that's just now listen, this person probably knows nothing other than what WWE Network documentaries have told him. And he probably truly believes that pro wrestling in the territory days and in the pre-Vince days was held in literal smoky bars.
Yep.
He believes that.
Yeah. You watch any WWE documentary, they'll show a small little arena and they'll show some wrestling there, and then they'll cut to Mean Gene Okerlund saying, "Yeah, it was just Smoky Guard Armories," and Eric Bischoff would say, "Yeah, it was just drunk grandmas drinking box wine in the front row and stuff." So I found the exact tweet. I'm not going to give the guy's name because there's no point in
don't give
that,
his name.
But he said, "I would suspect that the total attendance for WWE/AEW events and TV during WrestleMania week probably surpassed or at least came close to the total of attendance for all territories for a year."
It's just insane. There's no point even ranting how wrong it is. It's just so stupid. I mean, you can just go back to Vince McMahon's first few years in charge
right.
and just his company. Forget all of the territories that existed that were at the end of the line in 84 and 85. Just WWF in 85 sold more tickets than they do today, because they had 3 tours going on at once and everything else. Just WWF, even if you don't count the rest of every other wrestling show that ran in 1985. It just couldn't be more wrong. And then Trevor Dame was like, "Look, man, here's the average attendance at Mid-South Coliseum."
Yeah, just at the Mid-South Coliseum.
One building of one territory, and you're wrong already. And that's just one building in one territory, which they ran weekly. That's not any of the other buildings they ran weekly. That's not any other territory. It's just one building in one territory, which, over the data the years that he picked, they averaged between 6,000 and 8,000 fans per week in the Mid-South Coliseum. Times 52 weeks. It's so dumb. But it exemplifies people just don't know the history, and that's really annoying. I'm so annoyed by that, because it speaks to what I wrote a few weeks ago and what we've talked about the last few weeks. Vince McMahon's reputation strictly as a wrestling promoter. Forget the fact he's a serial rapist. Just his reputation as a wrestling promoter is extremely overrated based on inaccurate history that they have been able to spread for the last 2 decades, because winners write the history books. And it's so frustrating. And here's the Brandon tweet, because he sums up what we've been talking about over the last 2 weeks. You'd be surprised, Rich, but he does a better job in 150 words than we did in 3 hours. So he sums it up with, and I quote,
"It took us 2 hours and 30 minutes to do over the course of 3 different shows." But yeah,
while we scream and yell like lunatics. Here it is, all summed up. Before Vince, numerous regions had promotions drawing thousands weekly. After he got a hold of it, 1 or 2 U.S. companies could consistently draw 1,000 plus weekly. And every region now has an indie running bar-sized venues. Vince was great for his business and his only. End quote. That's exactly what we've been saying for the last month. You cannot argue that Vince is not the most successful wrestling promoter of all time. And you cannot argue that Vince McMahon was not extremely beneficial for his own company and didn't bring his company to unprecedented heights in pro wrestling and grow his company to the point they have literally billions of dollars of revenue, but he was bad for the wrestling industry as a whole, and the wrestling industry as a whole, less popular, sells less tickets, less people watching, and people who only know their history think you're insane if you say that. What are you
and
talking
you have to
about?
defend your end. Show me the facts.
Like the quote tweets to, like, when you tweeted out my article a few weeks ago, just the quote tweets from like these low level wrestling podcasts and stuff that, these chair shot and blade job level podcasts that, have 18 listeners and, and they just don't know anything about history. And they quote tweet us and they're just so indignant that we're the crazy ones because they don't know the history. And it's not even necessarily their faults. I mean, it is because they don't pursue it. If you don't have interest in learning, you're not going to learn. But I mean, to me, as someone who does know the history, it just frustrates me more than anything else. I'm done screaming at our listeners who are like, stop yelling at me. I agree.
Right.
Because they all know for the most part. And if they didn't, they know now. I take for granted we have a lot of listeners who do learn a lot. Rich, we're kind of smart, and our listeners do learn from us sometimes. And sometimes we do take that for granted, but I think most of our listeners, if they didn't already know this stuff, they sure know now after we screamed at them for 3 weeks. Now I think the conversation needs to shift to, man, what do we have to do to catch everybody else up and realize that, this grandfatherly figure that you all admire, aside from his atrocities that he's committed over the last 40 years, was not beneficial to pro wrestling at all. He nearly killed it. He nearly killed all of pro wrestling aside from his own, and he nearly killed his own a few times. Rich, where was Raw running in the 90s at various points?
Running some rundown ski resort in the Poconos or whatever, the Fernwood Resort. Yeah, they're running literal high schools. They were running high schools, literal high schools.
Civic Center and high
he had
school.
to buy the Mid-Hudson Civic Center to run shows in it. Like, yeah, it was.
So he not only nearly killed pro wrestling outside, he nearly killed his own company.
By 1997, that thing was. I mean, he was taking out his own personal loans to pay for shit. I mean, it was almost done in 1997 because he was so bad at booking it for a couple years.
Between that and the he took it global thing, he took his company global. His company. Okay, it's just ignorance. And the thing is, you cannot you can't debate someone who's completely ignorant
or doesn't want to learn. Ignorant and doesn't want to learn. Especially that frustrates me more than anything, especially in this age. We're in 2022. You can find all this information so quickly. If you actually wanted to have a real debate about this, or a real argument, or know your facts, it has never been easier to find that. But instead, people would rather just argue with you online instead of just doing their own research or just looking it up. But they don't want to. Like you said, they don't want to. They've been told this version of history, and this version of history is comfortable to them, and it's familiar to them, and it makes them feel happy, and it makes them feel good. So they just go with that, and they will just argue with you and argue with you and argue with you, and you're never going to get through them. Maybe you do. Maybe eventually you do, and maybe what we've done on this show has gotten through to some people. Maybe some new people have listened and said, "Oh wow, I never knew that," or "Oh wait, that's pretty cool." But a lot of these people just don't want to learn. They've been told one version of history, and that version of history is good enough for them, and then they move on, and then that's just the version of history that they go with for the rest of their lives because it was comfortable or familiar or whatever it may be, and it sucks.
This Twitch 7 in the chat. This listener, he makes a good point. Even some people who may have dabbled a bit in watching some footage or learning some history or watching some of the territories on their little WWE network. The thing is, a lot of these territories, the TV was run out of small studios.
Right.
And you might not know that, Memphis would run TV in that little studio with 50 fans, but then go on the road and then every Saturday go to the Mid-South Coliseum and put, anywhere from 6,000 to 12,000 people in the building or whatever the capacity was.
Right. And, Mid-Atlantic running, where they did 605 in that small state. I mean, dude, God, for a while
little room.
That room was, it was a one-sided of a little bit of a bleachers or whatever with some flags hanging from the front. It looked like that. But and we've talked about this. We talk about it a lot in our deep dives because we've dabbled in the territories a lot on the flagshippatreon.com deep dives. And a lot of times what we tell you is, okay, we're watching all the build to these matches or whatever, but we don't have the actual blow off of this match because that wasn't on TV. They were saying, well, no, we're not going to give it to you on free TV. Go to the damn arena and watch, the blow off of this match or the culmination of this story that we're telling. We're not going to put this on free TV. This isn't going to be on anywhere else. You got to go to X Arena. You got to go to the Sportatorium. You got to go to the Mid-South Coliseum. You got to go here to see the blow off. And people did. And that's what was selling out 25,000 seats and all this sort of stuff. You got to go to the Cotton Bowl to see the culmination of this.
You got to go to the Greensboro Coliseum.
Right. We're not showing you to this. We're not getting you. You're not getting Ric Flair and Harley Race in this studio with 100 people in it. Get out of here. No, you got to go to the Greensboro Coliseum to see
and
that.
if you're Bill Watts, you got to go to the Superdome. And if you're,
right,
we can do this in every territory. Okay. And it's that's a good point that I never thought of. If you're someone who just has a cursory knowledge of this stuff and you see all these little studios, you might not understand that. Yeah, they ran their TV out of studios, but then they went on the road and draw thousands and thousands of fans on the Loop every week, and even Vince McMahon's own fucking territory, his father, whether New York, Baltimore, Philly, Washington, and was filling with Bruno and Vince himself when he first. It's so frustrating, and that's an excellent point that I really never thought of. It could be the perception.
Mm-hmm.
The perception of the territories could be very much skewed by people thinking that the television shows out of the studios were what they were drawing.
Right.
That's a good point, because why wouldn't you think that? If you're just someone who has the network and is a fucking Bianca Belair fan, and you're like, I'm bored. Let me check out.
How many? Let's be honest. How many of those people are really watching?
Not many, but
clapping their hands together and going, "All right, Smoky Mountain. Let's see what we got here."
They might, but the ones that do are gonna think that's what it was.
Right. They're gonna watch a 605 from 1982. Mid Atlantic Wrestling, and it's gonna be in a small little studio with one, a drape and a row of people, and think, "Oh God, what the hell is this shit?"
And they're really good. Then what are they gonna think about Vince? That's a big reason why Vince did his TV in arenas.
Right, and we've talked about that before, too. That's a great point that we have brought up a lot, is that, Vince, and one of the good things that he did, and one of the smart things that he did, and
got out of Allentown.
He said, we got to run this thing in bigger. We got to go to Boston Garden. We got to go to Madison. We got to run TV out of here, because that's something that we can do that these other people are not doing. They're having people in a small little controlled studio. We're going to bring them out to the arenas. We're going to do TV out in the arenas, and that's much. Again, to Vince's thing, we've always said, business-wise,
great business,
great, and that took a lot of balls, and it probably cost a lot more money. It's a lot easier to say, hey, we have this studio, let's just run it here. Let's just film it here, run it here. Vince said, fuck that. We're going to run it at Boston Garden. We're going to run it at Madison Square Garden. We're going to do TV from all these different,
bigger building. Yeah, later, like in this era, he runs TV in those huge basketball, but he still ran bigger. The point is,
bigger arenas. Yeah, he got out of the studios and ran arenas.
Because you know what's going to happen. Someone's going to hear you say that. Well, they didn't run TV in Boston Garden.
No, I know. Yeah.
So, I don't want you to get, because I know that annoys you when people do that to you when the show drops. So I'm helping you out here, Rich.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. So that's not what Rich means. He just means bigger building. And now, of course, they run TV out of MSG and all these places. Right. But yeah, it's just, it is a frustrating thing. And look, Triple H, he has incentive to keep those myths and tall tales going.
Of course, he's not going to come out here and say, the real good wrestling was the NWA, and Vince's brand of wrestling isn't the brand of wrestling that I really like, and
our company isn't the revolutionary. No,
right.
He has incentive to continue these lies, and he also knows when and where he can peddle them. He was on Logan Paul's podcast.
Yeah, I doubt Logan Paul said, "Wait, now hold on a minute." Hold on a minute, H. I got a bone to pick with you. What about Memphis and the Mid-South?
He's not going to get challenged. I mean, if he's
on impulsive podcast.
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait. What? Shea Stadium? What about John Tolos in the Los Angeles Coliseum, sir?
Yeah. I mean, if he's doing a media call and answering Dave Meltzer's question, he's not going to try to pull that. If he's doing an interview with Wade Keller or Justin Barrasso, he knows that they're going to call bullshit on that. But on something like that, he can say whatever, he can push that shit and people are going to buy it. And he's incentivized to do it. So, we know that he knows better.
Of course he knows.
I mean, come on. We know that he was trained by Killer Kowalski. The guy knows wrestling history to some degree. Okay? He might not be Matt Farmer, but Triple H knows wrestling history So it very annoying, but you know why he's doing it, and they're going to keep doing it.
Yep.
So it's obvious that that's one thing that's not going to change. Why would they go and change all of their history books to make themselves look not as impressive? Right. They're not going to do that.
Not a good strategy. Not a very good strategy when you've cultivated and built 25 years of being able to tell your own history. No, you usually don't throw that away in a couple of weeks. So,
do you know who started doing his TV in bigger buildings and also had that same foresight was Bill Watts. He was in that studio in the early 80s.
Right.
But when he was serious about challenging and expanding, and when 86 and 87 rolled around, all of that TV is in the bigger buildings. It was just too late at that point. And that's a little side project I've been doing, for pleasure. I've been watching through the dying days of the UWF, and he's still drawing crowds too, to a lot of those dying days UWF shows in 86 and 87, they're not in front of 100 people. I mean,
they're good crowds. Good crowds, good roster too. I dabble in a lot of that too. I'll watch on a given week, if I have nothing else to do, I'll pick a territory out of random and watch that week's television from a random year. I'll pick a territory, I'll pick a random year, and I'll say, all right, I'm watching the August 1st, UWF 87 show or whatever, just picking random times. And yeah, it's kind of fun to do sometimes to check that out.
Yeah, and he was doing TV in front of thousands of fans, and it it looked good for its time. For its time, you watch it now, it obviously looks dated. It's from 35 years ago, but that TV for its time was also considered cutting edge.
Oh yeah, well we talk about it at the time when the network first started. One of the first things that I went and watched was World Class, and early World Class, 82, 83 World Class, and that show looks like it's made in
the 90s.
It could be a show from 1997. I mean, it looks great. The quality is great. The production is great. The sound is great. The lighting is great. That is a full-on production being done by those guys in 1982, 83. Yeah, again, predates, Vince McMahon taking wrestling out of the smoky bars and taking it global.
Running the Cotton Bowl, running Dallas, fucking, all those, running Texas Stadium and their TV was, with all the innovations they had, the cameramen would stand in the ring to get better angles, and the entrance music, which you could debate where all of that started, but they really focused in on that. And a lot of the production, they put a lot of money and innovation into their production. And we're talking early 80s. We're talking, like you're saying, 82, 83. And that show ended up getting syndicated literally all over the world. So again,
this idea, what are you talking about? No way.
Yeah, but Vince took it global. Took it global. That World Class television show was on the air in the Middle East.
Israel. They used to run tours in Israel sometimes. They got Israel.
Yeah, they got so big in Israel that they had to fucking So yeah, I mean, and this is a half decade before Vince, or not quite a half decade, but a few years before Vince bought the.
So you just bought a new house. Now it's time to care for it. Sign up for a free workshop from the Home Depot. We'll go over the basics of power and hand tools, air and electrical systems, lawn care, and more, so you can take on upkeep with confidence. Every workshop is live, interactive, and led by our expert associates, so you can get all your questions answered. Keep your home looking its best with Homeowner 101 Basics. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Register now at homedepot.com/workshops.
School is back, and so is the JCPenney Mystery Sale. How much will you save? Hurry in store for a coupon giveaway while they last. You could peel and reveal an extra 30, 40, or even 50% off store-wide. Sale ends Sunday. Extended store hours Friday and Saturday. Shopping is back, and the savings are too. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 8/7. Exclusions apply. Giveaway in-store only. Must be 18 years or older. See store or jcp.com for details.
Do it. Company from his father. And World Class I don't know when World Class actually had syndicated worldwide, but it was right around. The point is, it's right around that time.
Right.
And it's so again, it's all utter nonsense, and it's just frustrating. You'd wish somebody on a major media platform was passionate enough to tell the real story of the history of wrestling, and not necessarily just to slam Vince McMahon. You throw the roses where they're appropriate for him, what he did for his own company, but I wish some of these people, whether it's your Bill Simmons or your HBOs or whoever has dabbled in being interested in pro wrestling, but always tell it from their point of view.
Right.
I wish there was someone in power who wanted to tell it from a non-biased point of view, so people could understand. And if they want to appreciate Vince for what he did for WWE, great, go ahead. You can't knock what he did for WWE, but I wish more people were exposed to what pro wrestling was like before he stripped it all down and destroyed it.
Right.
And it's just a shame.
Yeah, just to educate, just to make people aware of what's going on. But yeah, and there's a lot of people that do that, but yeah, they're not given.
They don't have the platform necessary.
Platform.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, maybe I don't know. I don't even know who could do it, but it's if anyone even adjacent in any way to Tony Khan did it, there would be accusations of bias. And so it's like, if it comes out of Discovery Warner,
right,
it'd be too easy for people, because people split into their tribes again, and they claim that it's propaganda. It's almost impossible. It's just, look, when you're in control for that long, that's how it works.
Yep.
There's a reason they say winners write the history books. This is how it's gone since the beginning of time. And it's been too long, and people are too indoctrinated, and it's too late. It is too late to reverse it for, these generations. Maybe someday when we're fucking long and dead, people will look back and really understand. And people who aren't, there's so many people still admire Vince McMahon, and just, they grew up with him, and they see him as this grandfatherly figure, and they can't. So maybe we just need the distance of time, right? Maybe that's what we need.
Yeah.
Because, we talk about how there's generations of fans.
Well, like I was encouraged by what I saw this week. I saw a lot more people stand up against this and push back. So that's good. That gives me a little bit of hope for the future.
Well, maybe it won't take as long as I think, because we talk all the time how it blows our mind that we have adult listeners to this show that weren't alive when WCW existed.
Yeah.
Right? And we have adult listeners of this show who weren't alive when ECW existed, or during the Attitude Era. Like, the Attitude Era was before they were born, right? And that blows our mind. Rich, it's not going to take that long. Vince McMahon has been out of power for, a week or two, right? Thousands upon thousands of wrestling fans were born over the last 7 days that will never know Vince McMahon's version of pro wrestling. And they will be, in 15 years, they'll be, old enough to read a book and explore whatever version of the internet exists. So maybe it won't take as long as I'm thinking. I don't know, but
or we'll just all get dumber in time too, which is also very
that's
possible,
true.
So.
I mean, everyone who grew up with Vince is hopeless. They're hopeless.
Right.
They don't, because a lot of them don't want to learn either.
No, they don't.
They love WWE. They love Vince, and that a lot of them don't want to know the truth. You could hear it in my voice.
No,
man.
it was great. No, the best part there was the Brandon tweet came out, and then there was a wrestling history account that quote tweeted him, and it was revisionist history, blow it out your ass, asshole, or something like that. I'm like, what?
That account,
I'm you're a wrestling history account.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh my god! Now that's even worse, because you think that you're a wrestling history account, and you're like, oh yeah, all right, dude.
He actually called Brandon's tweet revisionist history.
I'm like, oh my god, we've lost the plot here. We're done. It's over.
You're defending the revisionist history like you're an idiot, and you call yourself wrestling history.
That blew my mind.
With an avatar of fucking Steve Dr. Death Williams with the UWF title around his waist, and you absolutely should know better. It's like, dude, you're 50. How do you not know?
Yeah.
You should know. You have vivid memories of pre-Vince. I don't even have.
I don't. I just know from reading and watching. Yeah, I grew up. I started watching wrestling in 1994, baby. I know WWF and I know WCW is what I grew up with. You know?
I didn't experience pre-Vince wrestling in real time. I'm not that fucking old, and some of these people are, and they're still like. That's another weird thing that's happened, and it's so weird. Over these last 20 years, because they've been the only game in town, even a lot of older fans, to them, WWE is now classic pro wrestling the way it should be, and AEW is the indie shit. It's the fucking It's trash. It's and WWE is what wrestling should. Isn't that bizarre? Because Rich, in our entire fandoms, it was the opposite. Like everyone was like, "Oh my God, WWE is like the redheaded stepchild of what true wrestling fans enjoy." Now it's even like these older guys, like people who remember the territories in a lot of cases. They're like, no, they reject the AEW.
Yeah. The territories were going to die anyway.
And they shit on New Japan, and they're like staunch defenders of WWE, and it's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's not just the 22-year-olds with the Alexa Bliss avatars. It's bizarre, and I genuinely can't understand how that happened. That I don't get, but we gotta hope for what come. By the way, what comes after Gen Z? We're out of letters.
Oh, I know. What do we have now? I don't know what's next. Has anybody have they even planned that out yet? Yeah. What like a kid that was born today? What are they?
I got a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old. What are they?
I don't know.
What the fuck are they? There's no letters left. Do we go back to the beginning of the alphabet?
Or A?
Like,
yeah, Gen A. That's...
like,
we really showed our hand by going like right to like Gen X. It's like, all right, hold on a minute. Like, let's...
Yeah, and then Gen Y was like a cute play on words because it was like they always ask why. So I was like, right, and then Gen. So then they just stuck with that and went with Z. But now what the fuck do we do?
I'm looking here. Generation Alpha, Joe. Generation
Alpha. So what they did, they just went back to the beginning of the fucking alphabet.
Right. That's
they looped it back.
Yep.
That's lazy as hell.
That is lazy as fuck, yeah.
Didn't they call them who were the founders? Is that Z or is that Alpha? There wasn't somebody called the founders for a while or some shit?
I don't remember anymore what that one was. Is
that
the greatest generation? That's not them, right?
No. That's like the people who are 90 and 80.
Yeah,
that's Vince Scully.
Vince Scully was the greatest generation. Yeah.
Or he might be the silent generation even. He might be the one before that. Like he might be – because it's Boomers, Greatest, and Silent.
Oh, okay.
And
all right.
And I don't know how many of them silents are left. I'd have to look that up to see what years of birth that would be. But or silent and greatest might be flip flop.
I think greatest came before silent.
Is that what it was? So
I think there's lost, greatest, silent, and then I want to say the boomers.
You know, we both have Google right in front of us.
Yeah, we're speaking on how you can educate yourself. All right, no, yeah, okay. So what did you say? So Lost Generation is. I love how we have so much more to talk about. We're still doing this. Lost Generation is early adulthood during World War I. So that is 1883 to 1900.
Oh, you'd have to. World War I was
those people are not. Yeah, there's no one there anymore.
That's Connie Mack. That's who that is.
Yeah. Then there's the Greatest Generation. They were born between 1901 and 1927.
Well, Vince Scully was born in 1927, so he probably the next
greatest. One. No, well, he'd be right at the tail end of the Greatest Generation. Then there's the Silent Generation. That is 1928 to 1945.
So he's on the borderline between Greatest and Silent.
Yes. And
he's like me. I'm on the borderline between Gen X and
then the Boomers.
Yeah.
And then Gen X, then Millennials, then Gen Z, and now Generation Alpha.
Doesn't say nothing about Founders. That's not an alternate
No, I don't
name.
know where the Founders are. Yeah, I don't know what that is. So.
I know I've heard that somewhere, but I don't know. Maybe like one of these was called, maybe that lost out. Like people were calling it Gen Z and Founders, and then people
they're like, all right, we got to pick one, guys. We can't go.
Yeah. Something has to win, right? Yeah. All right. Well, that's Triple H's dumb statement. I guess we have to do this. The SummerSlam, right?
Let's do it. Well, actually, before we do the SummerSlam, Joe, I have to let you know that this episode of the Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at HelloFresh. And with HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable, and that is why they are America's #1 meal kit. Summer is winding down, but you can savor every last second of it with HelloFresh. HelloFresh delivers fresh, quality produce from the farm to your door in less than a week, allowing you to enjoy the delicious flavors of the season right at home. You can skip their grocery store and spend more time soaking up the last of the summer sun, as I know you love to do. HelloFresh Market is a one-stop shop for all of your mealtime needs with a curated selection of quick breakfasts, lunches, snacks, desserts, and more. Gear up for the busy fall season as well with 55-plus weekly options to take the stress out of meal planning and prepping. From family-friendly to fit and wholesome and even veggie, HelloFresh has tasty and nutritious meals sure to please everybody in your family. If you need yet another reason, HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than dining at a restaurant and even cheaper than grocery shopping, especially now. So that is money back in your pocket. So what you can do is go to HelloFresh.com/VOW16. That's HelloFresh.com/VOW16. You're going to get 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. You're going to have to use our promo code VOW16 to get that, though. So again, it's HelloFresh.com/VOW16, and you're going to want to use that promo code VOW16, and you're going to get 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. Again, it's HelloFresh.com/VOW16, and use that promo code VOW16, 16 free meals, 7 boxes, and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, let's talk about the SummerSlam.
Real quick, we got this guy in the chat, Andrew Huntley. He says, I'm about to turn 53. I prefer AEW since it's closer to the style of wrestling I first watched. But I think a lot of my generation came of age with the advent of Hogan in WWF, so that's their touchstone. He makes a good point. The first point here is, I agree that AEW has far more of the traditional pro wrestling elements than WWF does. I would you agree with that, Rich?
For sure.
I think it contains more of the old territory elements, with all of the newfangled sort of things that you have to survive in today's environment. The other good point that he makes is a lot of these guys who I'm talking about, who are around Andrew's age, firmly Gen Xers. Okay, those people, they were teenagers, and they were between 12 and 15, or between 10 and 15 at the heart of Hulkamania. And that really sets them in cement for being WWF fans for life, does it not? I mean, that's kind of like if you would have been a kid or more appropriately, a teenager or young adult during the Attitude Era, since that was
right. Well, I would say what's different about that, because I was an Attitude Era kid, is that we had WWF and WCW, and at multiple times I liked WCW better than I liked WWF. When I first started watching in 1997, I way preferred WCW. When I because I first started dabbling in 1994, and then I kind of fell out of it or whatever, and then I got real into it in 1997, I liked WCW more than WWF. I switched back and forth between the two, but I was a WCW kid way more than I was a WWF kid, and then obviously by WCW fucking up massively over the years, I then became mostly a WWF guy. But I had competition in the marketplace. I had ECW as well that I discovered in 1998. So it wasn't like, if you became, if you became a pro wrestling fan in 1988 or whatever, and you were in the the Northeast or whatever, you didn't know shit about NWA. You didn't give a shit about Jim Crockett Promotions or WCW or any of that stuff. You are a dyed-in-the-wool, 100% full WWF guy. And I get that.
You know what happened to me? I came in around 85 or 86. And what happened to me was I did grow up in the Northeast, obviously, in that territory. But my family had cable very early on. And, man, that really shaped my adulthood, huh? Just flipping channels, starting at the age of fucking 7. Right. So watching Braves games when I'm fucking 6. But so
explains a lot. Yeah, explains a lot about your life and your choices in life.
So
why would I go outside when there's a game on?
Yeah. There's 33 channels. You want me to go play with sticks? Right? No. So
I'm going to play with a ball and a string. Get out of here.
I want my MTV.
Yeah, I want to watch Andy Griffith reruns instead.
Yeah. But my point is, so I came across TBS at the same time that I came across WWF. They almost came concurrently for me. And I think what happened was, because I was always a little prick and always a little smark at heart, I never liked Hogan. I saw him as cartoonish. I liked WWF, but I rooted against Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
Like
I
watch
was that way too when I remember when I said I started, like in 1994 I started watching. Dude, I fucking loved Yokozuna. I don't know why I liked Yokozuna. I was like, that guy rules, and everyone's like, no, he doesn't. He's Japanese. Like, you can't like him, and I'm like, I like him. He's awesome. Like, look at him. He kills dudes and he sits on them. He's like the greatest. And my friends would get in fights. No, you can't. Especially at this age, we're like super young, and I'm like, nah, Yoko's great. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you saying that he's great? He's not great. He doesn't like America. He's not great. And I'm like, I don't know. I just like him. And I was always that way from day one. I was a little prick arguing with my friends about how they were wrong. No, Yoko's good. You're wrong. Lex Luger's stupid. All right.
I'd put on the MSG shows, and I'd root for like Sika to beat Hulk Hogan for the title, or whoever he was facing that month.
I think he's got it this night.
Yeah, it'd be Sika or
I think tonight's the night. He's gonna do it.
Kamala, Killer Khan. Those were the guys during that era, and Piper and all that too. But I didn't like Piper either. Piper always annoyed me. I guess that was his job, but I know.
Well, I grew up in the era when I was supposed to like him, and I thought he sucked. You grew. To be fair, you grew up in the era where you were supposed to hate him. So
yeah, he was trying to annoy me, and Rich, he succeeded. I was never a Piper guy. Like, I've grown to appreciate him a little more now, in hindsight. But I've never been a Piper guy. Like, still, I'm not really a Piper guy.
Screaming nonsense for 10 minutes. All right, get to the point, dude. What's going on?
But even as like an 8-year-old. My Saturday morning routine was TBS at fucking 9 a.m. or whatever, and then the syndicated WWF shows until noon. So I was always exposed to all of it. The UWF in 87 I've told you this, was huge in my neighborhood. We all loved that fucking show on channel WPIX, channel 11. Didn't last. But so I think maybe if I had been a Hogan fan, I'd be one of these guys just eternally attached to this company. But to me, they were just one of 2 or 3 wrestling companies that I liked. It was never like, so maybe because I didn't grow up strictly a WWF fan and a lot of these other guys did, that could be it too. And then it wasn't very long until like AWA was on ESPN. So, and I liked it all the same.
Right, and then you got Global at a certain point too coming up. So
yeah, Global came when I was more in high school, but yeah, then Global came, and Global, by then...
Oh, you were Lightning Kid and Jerry Lynn, that's the future of the biz.
Yes, yeah, right. Because by the time Global came around, I had discovered newsletters and stuff.
Right, and you wanted wrestling. You wanted guys doing stuff, wrestling, yeah.
So I knew about Lightning Kid and Jerry Lynn from reading PWI and reading like fucking Torch and shit like that. And so when Global, when they hit, that was like me and all my smart friends. Like we were just about ready to get into tape trading by then. I mean, we were, I don't know, freshmen in high school or maybe around that age. But yeah, so maybe that's the difference, that a lot of people, because you're attached to the things, you have a special attachment to the things you grow up with.
Yeah. And
maybe a lot of people strictly grew up on McMahon's product, whereas, man, I love that TBS stuff just as much, if not more. Like, the Road Warriors were the coolest fucking thing. Like, Magnum TA, and I didn't like Dusty Rhodes all that much. And I did like Flair. But, those guys always seemed cooler to me when I was a little kid. Because they were more rooted in, like, they came off more like real tough guys and less like television characters. Does that make sense?
Of course, yeah.
It's and even as like an 8-year-old, I recognized that. I think the adult fans at the time, obviously, Crockett was a more mature product and all of that. But even as a kid, I was like, there's an authenticity to these guys that even though I liked WWF, don't get me wrong, so I don't know, maybe that's what the guy in the chat was kind of onto. You're 8 years old and you're a fucking Hulkamaniac, and you grow up with Vince and you go through, Anyway, let's do SummerSlam.
Yeah, we got to do SummerSlam. People are wondering, oh my God, you're 2 hours in and you have to do SummerSlam. I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of SummerSlam thoughts here. There's some stuff I wanted to touch on, but yeah, I don't have as much. Like, we don't have to. I don't think we're going to spend an hour reviewing this show. Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, the former Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS from Decatur, Illinois, he announced the attendance of 48,449. WrestleTix says WWE distributed 40,111 tickets, so somewhere in between 48,000 and 40,000 were in attendance at Nissan Stadium. So
real quick, this Nick Khan strategy of doing stadiums, I think it's been a mixed bag, right? So Las Vegas, complete and utter failure.
Right. Well, no, they just wanted to do it from the intimate confines of the MGM Grand Garden Arena. But
yeah,
yes, okay.
So that one was a complete and utter disaster and failure. The show in the UK, massive success. They're going to sell that fucker out 60,000 plus,
yeah, 60
right?
plus, 60 plus for sure.
They're on pace. That one is, and they haven't been there in a while. That's going to be one of the biggest pro wrestling gates of all time. I mean, that one is a massive.
Didn't they have
success.
Crazy high ticket prices too for that?
Yes.
And they're selling all of them. So
they're selling all that on a historical scale is going to be one of the most successful pro wrestling shows in the history of the world. So that one's a massive success. This one, I don't know. This is like thumbs in the middle to use Observer.
It's like, well, that 40,000 is not bad, like
I can't kill anyone for selling 40,000 tickets. That's where you start. But half the fucking stadium wasn't being used. I can't praise you either. Like this one, again, I can't knock them. It's a huge gate. But I don't know, man. This one I can't completely say that this was a massive blowaway success.
I'm right with you. I don't know how to present it because it's like, all right, well that's good. That's a good number. But yeah, this thing could fit, 60, 65. If you really, really wanted to, you could have gotten a lot more people in there. I guess I got to credit them for getting 40,000, but I also have to say, well, why didn't you get 50,000? Why isn't there 60? I mean, this is a big, big arena. So I don't know what the take home is. We'll find out when the financials come out or whatever. And we'll see, how much money they actually did make on the show versus the building costs and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. At 40,000, it's still a good number, but probably could have been a little bit better. So I don't know. The stadium thing is still TBD. I guess
they knew. Well, they knew they couldn't fill it, so they didn't even try.
Right.
They never put those tickets on sale to begin with. I was distracted by the fact that they were only filming one side of the building. I know that's probably just a dorky insider fan problem because someone just putting on their Peacock and enjoying a night of wrestling probably didn't notice, and they definitely weren't thinking about it. But I was, and it was very distracting to me that they were only filming half of the fucking building on the entrance.
Every camera cut, every crowd shot was all just to that same side.
So distracting. I couldn't get it out of my mind. Yeah, and when they did, the pictures that emerged from people there live, I mean, yeah, man, it was like shades of those late era world class shows that bombed in like Texas Stadium.
The Texas Stadium shows, yeah.
But they hurt. But I'll tell you what, they herded everybody to that one side, and it looked phenomenal.
Yeah, it looked great on TV. Yeah, if you didn't know, if you just slapped your Peacock.tv and watched it on there, yeah, you would have said, whoa, look at this stadium packed to watch some World Wrestling Entertainment action. So yeah, I agree. They did a good job with that. Presentation wise, putting the ramp in there instead of the big giant video board and all that sort of stuff. So I appreciate that. But
the entrance was so much better because it was different.
Yeah,
like I know it was fucking 8 miles long, but could you imagine if Ric Flair had to walk that aisle?
Oh, Jesus Christ, he could. Yeah, no, I can't. No, I cannot.
And now we know why, because they needed to get the fucking tractor in there. So that's probably why they did it more so than the building configuration, right? I mean, how can you do the tractor with their usual stage setup? So, anyway, the show itself, I think you hated it.
I didn't hate it. I just didn't.
You didn't like it as much as I. Well, see,
I saw a lot of I watched it not live. I watched it 2 days after. I watched it on Monday because it was Saturday. It was the show. I watched it on Monday. And that's after days of hearing people say, what a spectacular show. Oh, my God. I mean, just top to bottom. What a spectacle. What of this, what of that. And then I watched and I was like, it's fine. It's like the main event I enjoyed a lot. We'll talk about that. I really, really enjoyed the main event. Not as a wrestling match, but as like a thing, as a WWE thing. You know what I mean? I don't know what to call it. It wasn't a match. It was a spectacle, a WWE main event thing. And really,
you know what it was? It was the kind of thing that only WWE can do, and in this case, it landed. Sometimes it doesn't land. Box-like structure doesn't land.
Didn't land. Yeah. Brock putting on a cowboy hat and bringing a tractor out. That landed. That worked. And they did everything. They did everything they could in that match. That's a match that you can only do once every 10 years. You know what I mean? With how much they did, the kickouts, the getting up, the tractor, the moving the ring, they blew everything out for this match. And you know what? Hey, I'll give him credit. It was cool. I enjoyed it. I had fun watching it. That was good. Logan Paul and The Miz was great. Logan Paul was tremendous. He was like the fourth best worker of this entire show. He was so good. And then the rest was just kind of there. And that's and in some cases there or bad. I mean, there was a lot of bad in the middle of the show. There was some okay stuff at the beginning, a large chunk of time, like 2 hours of like nothing going on. And then the main event was fun. So I don't know. Is that a great show? I don't know what I think of it. I thought it was okay. Yeah, I did I feel like I wasted 3 hours? Kind of. I wish I had just watched a couple matches or just the main event, but I don't know. It was fine. It wasn't nothing to go out of your way to check out. At the main event for sure, but everything else, I don't know. Can't really super recommend.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the show. Okay. It ended great with the wild spectacle that you already laid out. I thought it started well. Belair and Lynch was a good match. I had a lot of issues with it. We'll get into that when we review the show. I thought Logan Paul and The Miz was the best match on the show. I thought that was, for me, the best thing on the show. The problem was, in between the first two matches and the main event was 2.5 hours of utter shit. I thought everything else on this show ranged from average to flat out bad. So I can't call this a good show.
Right. When
2.5 hours of it is just sludge, garbage, same old shit. And the formation of the new stable also happened at the beginning of the show. All the exciting shit.
It was all bookended. Yeah, and then the middle was just that the actual meat of the show was fucking it was rotten meat.
I mean, if we're being fair, every AEW pay-per-view ever was better than this. Because there's never been an AEW pay-per-view that was horrible for 2.5 hours. You know, you get that rough 40 minutes sometimes on those shows.
Right, of course.
But you never get an AEW show where the opener is great, the main event is great, and everything else sucks. So, I mean, if this were an AEW pay-per-view, it would be the worst one ever. So I can't call this like a good show. It was okay. But the other lesson here is if you open hot and close hot, people will say it's a great show.
People don't care, man. Yeah, people don't care.
They will say it's a great show. You just need to give people open hot and close hot.
Right. One of the worst women's matches had happened, 20 minutes prior, but nobody gave a shit, man. Everybody was just hooting and hollering after Reigns and Lesnar.
You know what's funny? If you do this the exact same show, but you shuffle the matches in a different order, people would say this show sucked. But if you opened with Lashley and Theory, and then the tag match with the Mysterios, and then Bianca and Becky, and then you did McAfee and Corbin, and then Liv and Ronda, and then Bianca and Becky, it's like, what the fuck is this show? Tractor,
up and down. But
then the tractor, then you end with fucking Rousey and Morgan. Like, people would say the show wasn't good, but it's like a psychological thing too, where if you open hot and close hot, people tend to say that it was, because that's what people remember. But I don't know. Let's go through it. So Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch opened things up. I want to say this was a good match. I enjoyed this match, but I can't call it a good match because there was way too much about this match that I thought looked like amateur hour. Becky Lynch, now we know she separated her shoulder and she got hurt, so maybe you give her a pass. She should never throw a strike again. I mean, she throws the ugliest strikes. But I'll give her a pass because, maybe she was hurting out there. It
did look like a worse than usual Becky performance, but I guess that does make a little sense considering her shoulder was massively separated and now she's got to miss months of time. So,
and it had a great finish.
Yeah.
The finish of this match was phenomenal. But you take away that finish, this is an okay match. This isn't any kind of great match. And I really thought there were points of this that looked like train wreck, barely trained, amateur hour ugly. So from that standpoint, it's a very hard match to rate. I will say this too about Becky Lynch. She does not work the house style. Think about this, Rich. Have you ever seen Becky Lynch, even as a heel, grab a hold?
No.
She doesn't do that.
Yeah, even in this current character, which is trying to be a WWE heel in all the WWE heel ways, the work doesn't reflect that.
She does not work the house style. It is go, go, go. And she's not a great wrestler. She can peak high, but she also has performances that are lousy. She's all over the map. But I'll give her credit that she does not work the house style. She is an action wrestler. That's one thing I'll say about her. And Belair, she's good. I mean, she'll work to the level of her opponent. So I don't know how to rate this fucking thing because I did enjoy it, but there was a lot about it I didn't like. So I don't know. What'd you think of it?
Right around the same as you. Like I when I watched it, I knew about Becky's injury, so I was kind of aware of that the entire time. So I think I liked it a little bit more, knowing that she was wrestling with a horribly separated shoulder that was going to have her out for months or whatever. So that kind of helped my enjoyment a little bit of knowing, hey, wow, she's putting in a real gutsy performance here, despite the injury. But I'm with you that I thought the final stretch of the match was really good. And these two I definitely think are better, are capable of much, much better. We've seen them have better matches before. So I was a little, I think I liked it a little bit more than you did, but I didn't think it was anything like spectacular or whatever. But, knowing the circumstances of the match, I think it was perfectly fine. But move on to Logan Paul and The Miz. And I'm with you that I thought this was, because I don't know what to call the main event thing. That was a moment's spectacle. That was a thing. It wasn't a match. Logan Paul and The Miz went out there and they just worked a wrestling match, and Logan Paul is so much better than like a lot of people on this roster, and that's got to be embarrassing for a lot of people that this dude who, and to his credit, apparently just good at everything he does. Like apparently he can just do just about anything and be very good at it. He can be very good at being an asshole that everybody hates. He can do good stuff on YouTube. He's a decent boxer, and he's a really good wrestler early on in his career, for whatever it is. Like, if this guy continues on the trajectory, I mean, he's going to get really, really good because he knows he's got that it factor. He's got it in spades. He's got it a ton, and he could just work. He just knows how to work a lot better. He's more athletic than a lot of these people. He doesn't feel like he has two left feet. He's just, I mean, compare him to like your normal person at NXT 2.0. I mean, is he? If you put him at NXT 2.0 tomorrow, is he better than everybody but like Roderick Strong and Trevor Lee or whatever the hell? I forget what his fucking name is now at this point. So
yeah, he's better than every single person on that show, with the exception of Roderick Strong and I guess Cameron Grimes.
Yeah, right. It's not that far. He's like not that far off. Like in terms of like off the street, like WWE trained people, he's better than
all of them.
Every single one of them. Yes,
every single one of them. I mean, just in the way he carries himself like a star.
Yeah, just that it factor, just walking out and just owning the room from the moment you start.
And then everything he does looks natural. Whereas, a lot of people in NXT, it doesn't look natural. I mean, you watch Lash Legend and you're like, oh my God, like this person's never going to be competent, let alone a natural. No, he's great. This was the best match on the show. He is Art Barr. I don't care what anybody says. I understand why everybody does the Will Ospreay comp, because Will Ospreay is obviously basing a lot of his pro wrestling character on the Paul brothers. But and there's an athleticism to Logan Paul's work. So and he kind of looks like him, the same hair, and they could be related, I guess. But to me, when I watch this guy, I feel like I'm watching Art Barr reincarnated.
The reason I agree with you too, and I think you're right, is that Art Barr, if you're listening to this and you've never watched Art Barr was so physical with how he sold, and so physical with how when he got in the ring and the way he would own the ring and own the room and own his character. He was just, everything he did just sounded and looked more impactful. It just was, you know what I mean? Like the way he would sell was so physical. The way he would throw a punch was so physical. It was all just in your face, explosive, like just personality just bursting through this. It's just everything that Art Barr did. You couldn't help but you couldn't take your eyes off of him when he was in the ring. He made sure that when he came into the ring, that he was the one you were going to focus on first and foremost. And I agree. I think Logan Paul's got more of that than Will Ospreay.
Yeah, and you got to give The Miz some credit here because, they put him in these spots with the celebrities, Bad Bunny, now this guy, and the matches always deliver. So say what you want about The Miz. That's not easy with these inexperienced green non-wrestlers, and he gets the most out of them. So you got to give him credit for that. I told you we're in another cycle where The Miz is underrated again, right?
Yeah,
we're doing that again.
Yeah.
The Miz just is what he is. Can we stop every 3 years saying how underrated he is? Like, he's a nice little wrestler who sometimes looks awful, even though he's been doing it 20 years, and sometimes looks okay and knows how to cut the right promo for his character. That's what The Miz is. Stop saying he's underrated. We all rate him appropriately. No, yeah, this was the best match on the show, in my opinion. The most interesting match, the most compelling match, because the thing at the end, I mean, I enjoyed it, but like you, I don't really. It's more of a spectacle than a match. Now we get into the shit part of the show.
Yeah, we can just run through this stuff because a lot of this stuff, dude, I have no thoughts about a lot of the shit on here. I was just like, my eyes were glazing over. Like, what am I doing? Why am I watching this stuff?
This is why I can't call this a good show. I can't. Bobby Lashley Theory, just a total nothing match. It was a TV match. I don't know. The only thing I will say is Theory got like no offense whatsoever. Then he got punked out when he came out for the main event. And he like wasn't even on Raw at all. So,
yeah. I wonder if Paul said, all right,
that's that for
right.
Mr. Theory.
Got a marker out, opened the cap with his mouth and went on Theory.
You know what though? And I know a lot of people hate Theory. I wouldn't get your hopes up because he liked him in NXT.
Yeah, that's true.
And Sapolsky had Gabe's ear, had Triple H's ear. What I think we might be seeing here, and I haven't heard anybody make this point, I think we just might be seeing Triple H acknowledging that the Vince push of Theory wasn't
right. Like he might still think there's value in him, but not in the way that Vince was doing.
And this might be, look, I want everyone to forget about.
Right, go away for a month or so, or 2 months or whatever, and then we'll bring you back and with a new idea.
A different kind of If people think they're rid of Theory, I don't know.
No, I don't think he's getting released tomorrow. Yeah, I don't think he's getting released tomorrow. But the current
I don't think he's headed the main event either. I think Triple H likes this guy, just based on history.
Yeah, I just think he rid him out of TV for a while.
Yeah,
doesn't like this incarnation of Theory.
I don't think he liked the trajectory of this push and the way it was going. So who knows? He might be on Raw next week.
Yeah, he might win the title next week.
Cash in and fucking win the title.
right.
Mysterio's versus Judgment Day, and then Edge comes out. And Rich, I'd rather watch literally anything than this match and Edge, and it's just all junk. I have no use for any of it.
He's got short hair now. Look at I can't believe we're doing the Edge thing again. We're doing the Edge thing again. How many times are we going to recreate this guy over the last 2 years? It's not going to work. Nobody cares.
They did it on Raw too with Edge. It's like they did like, here's the other thing I didn't talk about when we were talking about Raw. Rich, they did 1 million 9-minute video packages on Raw. I mean, that's why I felt like the same fucking show. It was the same old Raw with longer matches. Okay, can we be honest about it? We had a long ass fucking Edge video package. They did video packages from every match at SummerSlam. It's like, ugh. But no, this was just less said the better. Nobody gives a shit. And then the Mysterios had another shitty match against the Usos in the main event of Raw. This Dominic is just, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but he is just
well, especially when you see someone like Logan Paul, who's just 10,000 times better than Dominic could ever dream of being. And it's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing with this?
It's totally useless. I mean, and the thing about it is if Ray would have chosen AEW, unfortunately he would have brought Dominic with him. But here's the thing. Dominic would be on fucking in witness protection with Brock Anderson, and he wouldn't be all over the TV. Okay? And maybe that's why Ray did choose WWE instead of AEW.
Right, maybe that was smart. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because he knew he could shoehorn his kid onto fucking pay-per-views and shit. But he is god awful. I mean, one of the worst second-generation wrestlers.
He goes into the Eric Watts camp of just like, oh, good God, like what are we doing here? You know,
George Goulas or whoever you want to name. Fucking Angelo Mosca,
David Sammartino, right? Would you throw David Sammartino in there?
He's just as bad as all of these people.
Yeah,
he's like maybe better than Chris Von Erich.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
He's better than Chris Von Erich.
He is better than Chris Von Erich. Chris Von Erich was pretty bad. Yeah.
Like Mike, maybe we have a fucking competent. Chris Von Erich was like a fucking pudgy little teenager who never even got going.
Never had a chance to get going. Yeah.
Mike is the one that sucked real bad, and Von Erich, yeah. So he's probably better than Mike. I don't know though.
Mike was pretty good. I liked Mike sometimes.
He wasn't good at all, but
he was terrible. I think he was better than Dominic. He looked. Hey, you know what? Mike had a good upper body. He looked like he had lifted weights at one point in his life. I'm gonna say Mike was better than than Dominic. But yeah, Michael's pretty
The
terrible.
fact that we're debating any of these.
Right, these are some of the worst child wrestlers of all time. It's just awful.
Next up was Pat McAfee and Happy Corbin. Logan Paul ate Pat McAfee for lunch, if we're playing that game.
Yep.
Not that Pat was bad, but Pat doesn't look as natural as Logan Paul. Logan Paul looks like he's been doing this for 15 years. Pat looks like a good athlete who picked it up fast. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure.
So
and
that's
we sung the praises of McAfee in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was solid. I mean, he did pick it up, and he did seem like he was ambitious to get better and learn and stuff. And, these matches are more of him just kind of doing happy, fun, WWE stuff. This isn't the NXT Pat McAfee. That was a guy who was like, hey, what are we going to do? I'll learn what I need to do. I'll take, some bumps. I'll do this sort of stuff. Now he's doing this bullshit, and he knows it's just bullshit, so he's just doing bullshit stuff. Because why would you? Why would you try? You're not going to try hard or do anything interesting in a match with Happy Corbin.
He did some ambitious things here and some athletic moves, but I don't know. Maybe we'd be fucking praising him again if it wasn't for Logan Paul.
That's true. Logan just blows him out of the water. So,
Usos versus Street Profits. Did they have another 5-star match? You think?
I would say, Joe, that they had somewhat under a 5-star match here. I think they had a match. I didn't think this was. I don't know. I didn't think this was good at all, really.
It's just an average ass match.
Yeah, just a basic match. Yeah, I don't know. I came away being like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of thought that was, and then it seemed like everybody else was kind of on the same wavelength too, of just like, well,
yeah,
that was just kind of a match, huh?
No one's even pretending this one was great. But in all honesty, the only difference between this one and the alleged greatest tag team match of all time was the Montez Ford dive over the corner post and the hot finish. Same fucking match otherwise. I hate to wade into these waters, but after this match at SummerSlam and the match against the Mysterios on Raw the next night, anybody who thinks, feel free to clip me, anyone who thinks that the Usos are in the same fucking universe as the Bucks when it comes to match output is a fucking liar or needs their head checked. You're either playing tribalism or you're out of your goddamn mind and you don't know what you're talking about. Their output doesn't come within the same universe as the Young Bucks. This dumb debate needs to end forever until the Usos either leave this company, which is never going to happen, and go somewhere where they have a fair shot at matching the output of the Bucks, or the game changes here with Triple H in charge and they have more of a chance to have matches that more exhibit their true skill level, which I think they could have great matches, but they very rarely do, especially working this Roman gimmick because their matches are so bogged down with a certain kind of psychology. Like that boring ass Street Profits match from the previous pay-per-view, which had 3 minutes of good action and it was just uncompelling fucking, control segments from the Usos for the other 75%. This needs to fucking stop.
Right, and this one felt like more of a backdrop for some sort of eventual Street Profits breakup or turn or something like that. It had it felt like the underscore of this entire match was that Dawkins and Ford were just not on the same page, and Ford got a little too caught up in arguing with the referee and got caught or whatever. So it was more of that sort of story than it was just go out there and have a great match type of thing. So, which speaks to your point again with the Usos.
Yeah, it's their output. It's not even worthy of debate. I mean, forget the Bucks; they're not as good as FTR. I mean, you can't debate it. There's it's not even a worthy debate at this point. Out here with their 3-star specials every time. Liv Morgan, Ronda Rousey. This was just a complete and utter disaster.
God, I am not seeing enough people burying this match for what it was. Horrific. From the beginning to the end, awful, awful, awful work by both people. Nothing was good. Everything looked horrible and shitty. From Ronda's punches, which she used to punch well, now she punches like shit in WWE. Liv Morgan, who, I mean, good God. I know some people love Liv Morgan. She was awful in this match. Just horrendous in this match. to the weird, Liv Morgan's grabbing her arm and crying. And first off, she's crying when she enters the ring. She's crying when she's in the ring. Do I need to see this woman cry all the time?
Liv Morgan's crying right now somewhere.
Just wrestle. Yeah. Get in the fucking ring and wrestle. Let's go. She's out to the ring and they're like, she's overcome with emotion because she's coming out. This is her first SummerSlam. Okay, cool. Get in the fucking ring.
Everything's a fucking everything is like some grand event with this woman. Can she just fucking wrestle? I mean, she's half of a world champion, for God's sake. It's not that big a deal. Jeez. So then
they have this horrific match for 4 minutes. Liv is crying about her arm, and then the referee's like, I gotta stop this. She goes, no, don't stop it. And then they get back, and then Ronda does an armbar, and then the referee awkwardly counts 3 because Ronda's shoulders were down, and that's the end of the match.
And we do the tap. We do the visual tap.
We do the tap, and the shoulders are down, and they go, let's go to the replay. Let's go. Oh, see, they did tap. Oh, no, her shoulders are down, like the basic stuff. And then, you're right, Corey, you're right. She did tap. And it's like, oh, my God, we're doing a fucking dusty finish for this shit. God.
Which again, isn't exactly a stamp of approval for this Liv Morgan push.
This was protecting Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
Nothing. Liv Morgan got eaten alive in this match, selling her arm, broken arm, and then she escaped because the referee fucked up.
She fucking tapped.
Right. Before the 3 count too, and they were sure to say that. Corey was saying, look at the timing. She tapped before the 3, and Michael Cole goes, whoa, Corey, you're right. She did tap before the 3. And it's like, what are we doing? This Liv Morgan.
It's all about Ronda.
Like, let's play back that episode we did a month ago. God damn, they cannot wait to get this title off of
Liv Morgan is just the overwhelmed, oh my God, I can't believe I achieved my dream geek, and Ronda Rousey's the star. Right. And the booking, that's the story they're telling.
Reflected that, yeah. And Ronda didn't even want to play ball for long enough in this match either. She went 4 minutes in and out, let's get out of here, and let's go,
And Liv Morgan, she's not any good. She was
horrible in this match.
Her finisher is the worst looking finisher maybe in all of pro wrestling.
It's not good. Yeah,
it always looks like a botch.
Yeah, it's beaten the what's Jay Lethal call his thing where he bounces off the ropes and it's never right. It is always
lethal injection.
Yeah, and like the other person's never in the right place. They're always a little off. He's always got to like kind of reach behind him. It never looks good ever.
No one knows where to be positioned exactly. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah, she's her finish always looks like a botch, and I'm always like, wait, who's the person that's doing the move here? Yeah. Like that's the other thing. She just isn't very good. I get that she's likable and she's all she puts her heart and soul into it, but then the bell rings, man. I mean, it's not a fucking hobby. So and I don't know, this booking. This is one of the things we said we were going to be looking for. Are they serious about pushing Liv Morgan? I don't see evidence of that.
No.
I'm not convinced that this is a real, genuine, we're elevating this person into the pantheon of the top women's names in the company.
Well, what was the post-match? It was Ronda beating up the referee, you know what I mean, and getting a cheered on her way out while Liv holds her, title and walks away smiling. Cries. So first off, she cashed in on a hurt Ronda. Right. She screwed over Ronda here and then got out even though she tapped out. Like, this isn't a push, guys. This is not a push.
She lost all her matches.
Unless she's going to be a heel.
Here's what she did. She lost all of her matches on TV, won the Money in the Bank, cashed in on a tired and injured opponent, still almost lost to the tired and injured opponent, pulled out a banana peel win over a tired and injured opponent, then wrestled Ronda again and tapped out. And the story was she got, lucky and saved.
The ref fucked up.
Even though she tapped out and Ronda kicked her ass. And then the entire post-match was about Ronda and not her. You cannot be encouraged by this push. The booking never lies. She's going to drop that title and it's right back to the mid-card with fucking Nikki ASH and whoever the fuck. That's her future.
Yep.
And the thing about it, though, is it does not matter because to the 1.7 million people who live and die with this shit, she got her moment.
Right.
She got it. You deserve it. And she got her little title run. And we watched her cry 19 times. And they're happy with all of this. So it doesn't fucking matter, Rich. They think this is great.
Right. So Dakota did, and the note of Chapman does point out, we did not talk about Bailey, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky coming back, by the way.
One thing we do when we do these pay-per-views, we always forget the angles.
Right.
Because we're looking at the match listing and we forget the angles. So, yeah, I mean, we kind of addressed it earlier. Triple H is going to bring talented people back that Vince was just out to lunch on, and that's what's happening here. And I think that's a good little faction. That's a good little unit. And the speculation, of course, is with Becky injured that Sasha and Naomi will join Bianca and we'll have ourselves a little fucking Shield versus Wyatt family style, six-way. We'll see. Again, I will be convinced Sasha's back when I see her on the screen. Or one of the
when
big
Michael Cole
three.
Screams it's boss time to me, then I will be convinced. So
right. Or when one of the big three confirm it. That's when I'll wrestling.news.co, whatever the fuck, saying Sasha Banks is coming back tonight. I have no time for that. I don't know that's junk. No offense if the person who wrote that's listening, but I don't trust you. So we'll see. The smart money is on her coming back. But Vince is the only one gone. Now, I guess Laurinaitis is gone too, but some of the other crony, we all expected fucking Dunn and Pritchard to be history, but it seems like people were off on that. I mean, they would have been gone by now if they were going to be gone, right? So maybe those guys will stick around. But I don't know. The angle was good and exciting, and watching the show live, it made me think like, oh wow, this is going to be a very newsworthy show, and then it wasn't.
And then so the next 2 hours were not newsworthy at all. Yeah.
And the rest of the show fucking sucked until the tractor.
Yes.
This show was that unit coming together, and then the tractor with 2 hours and 45 minutes of horse shit in between. So there's my thoughts on the faction.
There you go. And then the main event here, WWE title, the Universal title, WWE title, undisputed, whatever the hell title. Last man standing match. Roman Reigns defeats Brock Lesnar, 22 minutes and 55 seconds. And they pretty much went right to the Gaga right away. They didn't even spend it. They didn't exchange holds for it. They went right to Brock's getting a tractor. They're outside the ring. Brock's gonna, dump Roman Reigns out of the tractor, and he's gonna hit him onto the boards. They're gonna go into the tables. Brock's gonna F5 Paul through a table. The Usos are gonna come out. Brock's gonna move the ring with the tractor. Oh, we're gonna stack every piece that we can find out of. I mean, they just went right to the guy. And again, it was fine, but I don't know what to call it. It wasn't a wrestling match at all. It was something entirely different. It was WWE moment spectacle is what it was. It featured a lot of WWE moments, and it was a spectacle, and it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's just hard to rate as a wrestling match because I feel like there wasn't that much wrestling in it.
It's the kind of thing you want to do on a show like this where a lot of non-fans might be watching.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam, because it really was it's completely absurd.
Yeah, it was cool.
I mean,
it was absurd and it was cool. I find it cool, but
it's fun. Yeah, it's completely absurd and a lot of fun, and it worked. A lot of times they do this kind of shit and it doesn't work. This worked. Now listen, when it comes down to it, does fucking No Fun Lanza just want to see two people wrestle? Yes, that's really all I want to see. But in this like if AEW did this, I would be fuming. I would be like, just like I was with the Mimosa match, just like, other times when AEW has done dumb shit. Like, it works in this environment with this company, with the people that were involved. This worked. All the chain of events lined up, and this was a lot of fun. So, again, yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if I'd call it a match. I don't know what it was, but I enjoyed it, and I guess that's really all that matters.
So that was SummerSlam. Let's move on to let's stick with America real quick, and then we'll finish out with Dragongate here. Ric Flair's last match. This was on Sunday, also from Nashville. Attendance for the show. What did they get? Like 6,000 to 7,000 for this show? It was
I didn't see an attendance.
I don't know if I got a final official attendance on that, but that building was full.
There were a lot of people there.
A lot of people were there.
They didn't sell it out, I don't think, because I definitely saw empty seats. But they drew a good crowd. Yeah, this will be if not the biggest. This will probably be the biggest indie crowd of the year. I mean, they did a good crowd. This drew for sure.
So I did not see the rest of the show. I had planned on seeing it, but then I decided to watch the main event only. And after I watched the main event, I decided I really don't want to watch the rest of the show. But I've heard there's some good stuff on the rest of the show. You saw it all. Quickly, what should I watch if I do want to watch anything else from Ric Flair's last match?
There was good stuff on the show, but everything under-delivered to some degree based on what it looked like on paper, with the exception of the AAA 4-way. The AAA 4-way was legitimately great. The problem is I've seen so many of these that it's almost like a ladder match now.
Right. I saw some GIFs and I saw that crowd like going absolutely nuts for this stuff. And I imagine that a lot of the people there to see Ric Flair's last match have never seen anything like Bandito before, have never seen anything like Laredo Kid before, or have maybe only seen it in GIF form or whatever, weren't ever there live to see Rey Fenix do what he does. I've seen all four of these guys have tremendous matches live. I've seen Laredo Kid live a handful of times. I've seen Rey Fenix live probably 30 times in my life at this point. Bandito I've seen live a bunch of times. Taurus I've seen live a bunch of times. I've seen Laredo Kid and Rey Fenix have matches together. Like, I've seen all this stuff over and over and over again. So that's where, like, I've heard that that's a match I do have to go out of my way to see, but I can definitely see myself not enjoying it as much as normal people might. Yeah.
You don't need to go out of your way to see it.
Okay.
We've seen this match on every AAA pay-per-view. It's always like great, but to me, it's like I feel like I've seen this match 9,000 times, and it's always but it's a little less impressive every time. So I mean, but I can't sit here and tell you it wasn't a great match, because it was. It was easily the best match on the show. Everything else, like, look at every other match, picture it in your head, how good it should be, and it was not quite as good as you think it should be. That was the show. The matches were in and out pretty quick. This wasn't like a traditional indie show where they give everybody all the time they want, right? So you had Gresham, Alan Angels, Takashita, and Nick Wayne in a 4-way, and it was like 5 minutes long, and you're thinking, whoa, if this were an indie show, it would have been 20 minutes long.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of like everything was a little shorter than you would expect and didn't quite hit the highs you would expect. The Josh Alexander, Jacob Fatu, I mean, they did an angle and had them, had Matt Cardona and Brian Myers come in and attack them. So they did in a lot of ways, it was more like a traditional pro wrestling show. This is going to be a weird
not an indie super show like maybe it looked on paper.
Correct. Yeah, because they didn't tell them to work that way. This is going to be a weird take, but my favorite match on the undercard was Brian Pillman and Brock Anderson versus the Mortons.
Okay, all right.
And it wasn't the best match, quote unquote, but man, with the Jim Crockett Promotions ring and the people that were involved and the style of match that it was, it made me very nostalgic for like a 1986 Jim Crockett show where this is like a prelim match or the third match out of the curtain. It was worked like that. It was given that amount of time. The finish was like a finish you'd see on a show like that. And to me, this tag, which probably no one's thinking about today, was the quintessential match if you're going to do a Jim Crockett Promotions revival show with a Ric Flair retirement. I really enjoyed it. And Brock Anderson won this match with the Gourd Buster on Ricky Morton. Hell yeah. And I'm just like, this is like, after the heels did some shenanigans, you know what I mean? It felt comfortable to me. Let's take it back to Vince. This felt comfortable to me, this match. I was like nostalgic for the way that this match went down, and I really enjoyed it. And a lot of the other stuff on this show are wrestlers I see all the time, doing the same shit that they always do, just not as good because they didn't get the time. So, I can't really tell you to go back and watch any of this, honestly, Rich. I mean...
Yeah, well, I wish I could take back watching that main event because, this was not good at all. I'll give credit. I mean, I liked the promo videos. I loved the promo packages leading up to it. I thought the video they played before the match was good, and pretty much once Ric Flair came out, I was like, oh, I've made a mistake. Why am I watching this? And then the next 26 minutes were, I don't know, equal parts uncomfortable and sad and weird, and I just felt like shit when this was over. I felt like, why did I watch this? Why did I waste 26 minutes of my life watching this? And they tried. I'll give Jay Lethal a ton of credit. I'll give Jeff Jarrett a ton of credit. Jeff Jarrett looks great and was probably the best worker in this entire match. I mean, he was working his ass off here. Andrade did what he could, but man... the Ric Flair stuff was so sad from the moment he came out till the moment he mercifully this match was over, and he couldn't stand up for the last 10 minutes of the match. They're trying to put the brass knucks on him, and his hands are shaking, and I'm thinking, oh my fucking God, what is going on here? Like, what? How is this happening? Why is this match happening? What are we doing here? To the now he does the figure four, but he can't even move his body up, so, the referee's counting Jeff Jarrett's shoulders down, but Ric Flair is down flat on his back. Couldn't get up after the match. He's just, his eyes look like they're not even open. It's like, dude, what are we doing? He passes out at one point during the match. I mean, this was just like, I never want to see a match like this ever again, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the finish was horrendous. They had ideas here, and Ric Flair just struggled to execute them. Guy's fucking 80 years old. I mean, couldn't move around. He took that suplex, and that was it for him.
They wanted to do a superplex. They were going to do a superplex, and he told them, no, just the normal suplex.
Yep.
Dude, what if they did this? I mean, they did the normal suplex, and he couldn't get up for the next 20 minutes of the match.
Yeah, he knew. He knew he was dust.
Holy crap, if they did the superplex. Like, I don't know, man. Jeez.
Then they couldn't, the brass knucks, like you said, like, he couldn't figure out. He didn't seem like he knew he was there.
It's like, what are we doing, man?
Then he didn't even have the energy to lift his shoulders with the figure four. So, I mean, at first I thought the finish was a double pin.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought, oh my God, they're building it up for another match. Like, I can't believe these assholes are going to build this up for another match, a rematch between Jarrett and Ric Flair. But then I realized, because then after the match, like, they're trying to lift him up and he's just like dead weight. They can't even get him up on his feet. And I'm just like, he couldn't move his body up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess this crowd of Conrad listeners enjoyed this, and I didn't. I
hated this. I felt like an idiot for watching it when it was done.
I'm tired of these old fucks. I'm sorry.
Hey, we'll talk about it when we get to Dragongate too. I am. You can put all these old fucks on an island, and I never want to see any of them wrestle again. I'm done.
I don't know what people get out of this. Look, I don't want to watch Dick Butkus line up at middle linebacker for the Bears this season. I mean, why do I want to watch this? It's not entertaining. It's cringy. And listen, Muto is a million times better than Flair at this point.
God, and yes, yeah.
And even Muto's embarrassing. And Flair was just, you're worried about, like, I know.
Yeah, it wasn't embarrassing. It was like it was uncomfortable. It was like a snuff film that I was watching. I was like, what is this?
Sad.
Yeah, it was sad. It was disgusting. I was initially of the, he's a carny and they're all carnies and it's a carny business and whatever. If he wants to do it, he can do it, a type of thing. Or, haha, what's going to happen? Watching it, I was like, this is nobody should have allowed this to happen. This is exploitative. It's sad. I did not like any of this.
I don't know what fans get out of any of this. I have nostalgia for things I like too. I've talked about nostalgia.
I want to watch people that I loved at their best. I want to remember them at their best. Everybody talks in sports, and again, we're going to get into sports stuff. People talk about how sad it was to watch Willie Mays play out the strings of his career when he couldn't do anything that he was able to do before. And it was like
flopping around in center field for the Mets.
He's playing for the Mets. He sucks. He can't run. It's like, Babe Ruth in his final years.
Boston Braves.
Nobody wanted to watch Boston Braves Babe Ruth, not hit home runs and be just grossly obese. Like, no, it was not fun for anybody.
Johnny Unitas for the Chargers.
Oh God, yeah.
Couldn't complete a pass. Like, that's what this is, but even worse. Even worse. Like, this is just, it's a farce. I don't find it enjoyable. If I want to enjoy Ric Flair, I'll go back and watch him wrestle Butch Reed in 1982. Why? I don't want to watch this. If I want to enjoy Muto, I'll go watch fucking something from the 90s. I don't need him now eating up young guys and not doing business the right way. We got to put a stop to this shit. And, it's the fans that I blame, because as long as fans keep eating this shit up and asking for it, they're going to give it to you. Right? Because these motherfuckers will take the paydays, believe me. They'll get in there and they'll take the paydays. When these guys are done, I'm done with them. Leave the memories alone, man. And a lot of wrestling fans, I don't know. It's not for me, and I really think we got to put a stop to this shit. And just a transition, I guess, to Dragongate. I mean, in that case, you had two guys who wasn't going to work for them, brother. So they had to find a way to fucking not even have a finish to the match. with Ultimo Dragon and El Hijo del Santo. And, so then the fucking Perros come out to attack them, and it turns into a tag so they could avoid, because neither guy even wanted to do a job to the other. And it's like, the fuck are we doing? Like,
it didn't draw either. Oh my God. The best part, yeah. And the Open the Voice Gate did a 2-hour episode this week. So if you want extensive thoughts about Dragongate and Kobe World Weekend, Open the Voice Gate here on the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network did an entire show devoted to it. And they dig into the attendance as well. But last year's attendance for Kobe World Night 1 was 2,396. This year's attendance, the Ultimo Dragon 35th anniversary show, where they bring in El Hijo del Santo, 1,915.
Awful. And it looks so bad.
Yeah, a horrendous number.
And the crowd was dead the whole time. The show was depressing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that was going to be my notes here. We're going to talk about the tag match, which was great, and I really like that. Yeah. But my notes after this were, Joe, usually we do this show where we review Kobe World, and then you go on your big, like, oh, Dragongate's that girl you should have never left, and we say, you know what, we need to really just start getting back to watching Dragongate. I did not feel that after this show. After these two shows, I was like, yeah, I'm good on. I've satiated my Dragongate for a while here. It's just there's a lot. There's an energy that's not there. There's something. There's not that palpable. I don't know what it is with Dragongate right now, but it just doesn't feel like things are on the right track in a lot of different ways. Despite one of the better matches I've seen this year in the Twin Gate. But other than that, a lot of the other stuff on the show I watched, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, it was good, but I didn't feel anything. You know what I mean? My eyes were kind of glazing over when it was all done. I was just like, I don't know, that was Kobe World, and then I moved on. And I probably will never think of anything but that Twin Gate match from the show, or from these shows, I should say.
These shows were a little depressing, and you're right. This is no longer that promotion that we would neglect for a few months and then kick ourselves because there's like, oh shit, this is really good. We should stop. We should stop doing this thing where we stop watching. I'm not interested in this promotion right now.
No, I watched Kobe World and I said, yeah, I'm good until someone tells me I need to watch something else.
I'm good until the next big show. Yeah. What is it? Dead or Alive, whatever the next one is. Man, this was like watching a funeral. I mean, this was just depressing. They're not selling any tickets. They have a lot of really great young workers, and I feel like a lot of them are just lacking charisma and lacking confidence, and some of them aren't positioned properly. And Yoshioka, I feel like he really needs to work. It needs to work because Ashida's gone, Okuda's gone. I'm hearing rumblings about Ben K. Look, I'm not saying he's leaving for sure. I'm saying don't be surprised if he does.
Man, and that's all. That's a dude that 2-3 years ago we thought was, and he was positioned that way. He ended a Kobe World as champion, right?
I'm hearing about
2019, I think 2019 or 2018. Ben K was there, and then he's just kind of been floating around. So I wouldn't shock me either.
I'm hearing about Minoru not being happy. I talked about that last week with Okuda. Other young wrestlers as well. The defections aren't over. When Yoshino left and then all the dominoes fell, Kness, Super Sisha, you go right down the line, all the retirements, right, and all the guys who left. Yoshino being the big one. It left. It shook things up, and listen, if you don't think Nosawa has some influence, fucking Muto was on this show.
Right.
Well, the fuck more you need. It's like,
well, and the Voice Geek guys brought this up too, and I do agree with them. There's a lot of Ultimo in this too.
Absolutely.
And Nosawa and Ultimo definitely they're not, combative. They probably think a lot of the same things. So there probably is both of them in the room saying, hey, great idea. Oh, wow, that's a good idea too.
Nosawa has nothing but allies.
Right.
At the top here. It's all his boys that are left. The other sort of, if you want to call them factions or cliques, are gone. Because they saw the writing on the wall. They get the fuck out of there. Okay? And it's and a lot of the young wrestlers who didn't get chosen. Yoshioka got chosen. And a lot of the others didn't, and they're offended, and they're gone, and they're leaving, and they see the writing on the wall, and they see where they're booked on the show, on the card, and their proponents are no longer with the company, and that becomes a problem. This is not the Dragongate, of old. It's not your big brother's Dragongate, and it just feels disjointed. You want the best, despite all of the other clues that Nosawa has picked up an incredible amount of power. Okay, whether it's Muto showing up, whether it's the presence of Peros, whether it's certain allies of and old cronies of Nosawa and Ultimo getting pushes, or the biggest indicator that he's got some stroke is that these shows didn't draw. When has this guy ever booked anything successfully?
A great example is Night 2 Kobe World, last year's Night 2. Obviously, the Speed Star final, the end of Yoshino's career. Big deal. A big deal. That had 3,580 last year. This year's Kobe World Night 2 attendance, 2,515. 1,000 less people in the building for this Night 2.
I haven't been paying attention to restrictions, but if anything, they're less now.
Yes.
If anything, there's less restrictions.
This is not a good number. That's a terrible, horrific number.
No spin. And it just feels like a promotion that is, other than Yoshioka, feels directionless. And the other problem was a lot of the guys who were going to the U.S. this fall had to do a bunch of jobs. So across these two shows, you had your Shun Skywalkers and people like that lose matches and kind of get, depushed because they're going to be gone for a while. So you had a lot of that too. But it doesn't feel like Dragongate anymore.
No.
It feels like if you went into a coma right before Shima and the Stronghearts left the company, right? And you woke up now with the new logo. If you didn't know the name of the company, you would think that Dragongate folded and this was just some company with a bunch of new wrestlers, a weird collection of veterans that used to be with Dragongate, some other veterans like Suji Kondo and Kai who just drifted in from whatever folded fucking garbage promotion they came from. That, right? It feels like some new promotion. It doesn't feel like Dragongate anymore.
Yeah, you got like Masato Tanaka. You're like, all right,
You'd be like, yeah, you'd be like, what the fuck is Ultimo
Shinsei
Dragon doing here?
Shinshaki's here. That's cool, I guess. Is it? I don't know if that's cool or not. Like, all right, like. Yeah, there's. Yeah.
So I mean, and I know some of these guys were just special guests, but a lot of them are fucking there every show.
No, that's what I said. They're there a lot. Yeah. Ultimo was a special guest for a while too. He's been there for 3 years now. He hasn't left.
This doesn't feel fun
Super
anymore.
Crazy. You're like, what the fuck is going on here?
It doesn't feel fun anymore, and it doesn't feel like the spirit of Dragongate is with this promotion anymore, and. In particular, the first show, the Ultimo Dragon Anniversary show, it felt like a fucking funeral. This felt like I'm watching this show thinking, you know what? It's over. It's officially over. Dragongate's done. This is something different. And I know realistically that was probably the case for a while now.
Right. And I would say, they did change their name and they changed their logo and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that maybe was the way that you should have all taken it, that it wasn't. This is no longer Dragon Space Capital G Gate. You know what I mean? It's Dragongate. It's all one word. And maybe that's a good beginning and end point to just say that this isn't that same company anymore. And what's disappointing about that as well, and like you said, because I had the same thought as you, but you look at a lot of like what they did on this show, and a lot of it was younger talent, like you said, winning matches. Mochizuki Jr. is part of the Open the Triangle Gate champions, and he's only been wrestling for a couple months or whatever. In another era, that would have been like, holy crap, here we go. Like they're putting this, they believe this kid's got a lot behind him, and they're gonna and then you have the Kung Fu Masters, which we'll talk about that match in a bit, and they won the titles, and that felt like I'll say in the sea of all the depression,
I'm not gonna knock that.
That was a Dragon Gate match. That was a Dragon Space Gate match where those guys went out there and said, let's just do some shit that people have never seen before. Let's look like $1 million doing it. We're going to wear matching gear, and we're going to go out there and we're going to do a crazy amount of shit for 19 minutes, and people are going to be blown. They're just not going to believe how awesome we're going to do. And everything we're going to do is going to be crazy, and we're going to hit it perfectly every single time. That was a Dragongate match.
Yeah, let's put over that match because we've done enough shitting on this. and it also, for all the reasons you said, right? Because just this perfectly executed style of match that no other company in the world can do. That used to be the Dragongate.
Right, those guys come out there, they look like that. You got the Kung Fu Masters wearing their matching gear. It's kind of silly a little bit. You're like, what the heck? They're Kung Fu Masters, but it's fine because they own it. Both guys own the gimmick. Both guys own the thing. And it's a special little thing for Kobe. So again, it's like a thing that there's deep, lore because they only bring it out for Kobe or whatever. There's a bunch of different like little Dragongate stuff that's perfect. And then the Diamante and Shun Skywalker show up, and they got matching gear, and they're wearing these cool ass masks,
all black,
and it's all black, and it's just like holy shit. Like look at aesthetically, this looks like a Dragongate match.
They looked like superhero villains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they were much bigger than the baby faces. Yes. So the psychology of the match worked perfectly. They were bullies, and aside from all of those things that you point out, it also felt like a classic Dragongate match because the focus was clearly on one person getting over, and that was Jackie Funky Kamei.
Yeah,
it was all about him, and it was his moment. And that felt like someone who was being elevated and had a future. Whereas a lot of the other young guys who won across these two shows, you're like, yeah, these guys can work, but they're all blending in together, and none of them feel like they're stepping up ahead of the pack, and they all lack some charisma. And I think that's a big problem, which is why I say Yuki Yoshioka has to work. They have to be right about this one. Because a lot of the other guys that are going to be options are going to be gone for a while.
Yeah, which is very bizarre too. It seems like the worst time ever to tell like big chunks of the roster to just go to America. Like Yamato, hey, spend a bunch of time in America. Who cares, man? Hey, Shun Skywalker, why don't you go to America? Try that out. SB Kento, cool. Hey, go. There's a bunch of dudes that are at Australia. Australia is going to be there too. It's just like there's a lot of dudes that are like, I would be using on my shows over the next 3 months and 4 months or whatever. They're going to just be floating around in America.
Well, they all lost and got written off.
Yeah, very weird. Very, very strange.
Kento lost to Hyo on the Brave Gate match the second night and got written off.
Yeah.
Yamato, fucking Masato Yoshino put him through the table with his fucking dive to the floor spot, and he lost, and they wrote him off. Yamato, yeah, he got written off. They wrote off Shun Skywalker. He lost to Twin Gate. Right, and he's another one that's going away for a while. And in the case of SB Kento and Shun Skywalker, these are guys who if Yuki Yoshioka isn't working, we can slide one of them and we could elevate Kento, who everyone thinks is going to be a huge deal, and he's got a shot, or we could put Shun Skywalker back in that spot. If Yoshioka doesn't work now, it's just sink or swim, and I don't even know where they turn, and it's no lock that this guy is going to work, and. You could forget. I'm telling you right now, you could forget Ben K. And this promotion feels weird in that, you see like Susumu or Ben K or even undercard guys like Punch Tamanaga show up, and they feel out of place, even though like they've been with Dragongate their whole careers.
Right.
They feel like outsiders now. Isn't that weird? Like they feel like they don't belong. It's completely bizarre. I struggled. I watched both of these shows top to bottom, wanting to feel something.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
all
I wanted that moment where we got on the show and you said, "God damn it, why don't we watch Dragongate every week? Like, why don't we watch this show every single week?" And when it was done, I was like, fuck, I don't really want to watch Dragongate for a while now.
No, I had the same thought. I'm like, I don't want to watch this promotion. I'm checking out. There's nothing interesting here for me. It felt lifeless. Dragongate has never felt lifeless.
Never.
The opposite of lifeless.
From day one, almost. Really. Yeah, I know.
Shima was right. Shima was right.
Maybe.
Bring him back.
Maybe.
Fucking Strong Hearts have saved.
You're gonna start watching Glee. You're gonna have to start watching Glee pretty soon, Val.
I don't even know what that is. I will not watch something that doesn't exist.
Half the Dragongate roster is going to be on Glee pretty soon, sir. So I think you're going to have to acknowledge
that. Well,
them.
that's Rokuda's head. No, he's going to where the fuck was he?
He's doing MMA shit, isn't he?
No, he was. I think he's going to be Wrestle Universe adjacent.
Okay.
Okuda. I'd have to check his social media again. But I don't know. But the tag match. Listen, I went 4.5. I think it's a must watch. That I will say. Everyone listening to this should track down Jackie Funky Kamei, his coming out party with Jason Lee, who's one of the most underrated wrestlers on the planet.
Thank you. I've been vindicated in I drafted him in that Alan Forel draft 10 years ago. When I didn't, I absolutely had no idea who he was, but I'm not going to tell you that I didn't know who he was because I've been proven right about that. What a great value pick getting Jason Lee in like the 20th round of that draft of the.
And we did mock
draft.
you.
Yes. So you're all wrong, and I was right.
Shun is great, and I tell you, this Diamante has done nothing but deliver.
Diamante rocks. Diamante is great.
So this match fucking ruled. I went 4.5. What'd you go on this?
I went 4.5 as well. Case Lowe, who did our review for VoicesOfWrestling.com, went the full 5. This is like his third 5-star match that he's done for Dragongate over the last 7 years or whatever. So he put it on.
He's not a fucking star.
No, he's not a star guy. Yeah, no, he'll give 4s. There's a lot of 4s get thrown around, but not a lot of 5s get thrown around. So yeah, this is an important to him. He said by proxy, like the best Kobe World match ever and one of the best Dragongate matches ever. So that's high praise for that.
He doesn't overrate shit.
No.
He's not. He's not real fucking liberal with the stars. So if he gives a 5-star rating, it's to be trusted. So people in the chat,
I think co-host Mike Spears also went 5 on that. So both members of Open the Voice Gate went 5 on that. And they, again, neither of them are really easily doling out stars either. So that tells you where that's at. And I hope that Dragongate is smart enough to realize that this is a match that a lot of people probably need to see. This is a match that I would definitely want to promote if I was them because it's saying, hey, we can still do stuff like this sometimes. And this might be a good match to throw up on YouTube or throw up for free on the Dragongate Network or find some way to get it because now we're a couple days removed or we're a week removed from it. And hardcore people I know, people that follow this website and listen to this podcast and listen to Open the Voice Gate, all of those people love it, but I don't know that it's gotten anywhere beyond that. I haven't heard Dave Meltzer say anything about it. I haven't seen gifs of it either. Like it exists in a very, very small little niche right now, and that sucks because it is worthy of a lot more than that.
Well, we'll do our part, but Dragongate, even when it was humming in its glory days, it would take some work sometimes to get the word out.
Right.
The problem with Dragongate now is, okay, if there was a great Dragongate match in 2013, people knew Naruki Doi and Masato Yoshino and Shima and Akira Tozawa, whoever the fuck, Ricochet, go down the line. Nobody knows Jackie Funky Kamei, Jason Lee, Diamante, and Shun Skywalker. Maybe Skywalker has more of a profile now because Dragongate has been on been in this weird place since all of those guys have left. So it's harder for these great matches to break through. Whereas before, maybe if people weren't necessarily watching Dragongate show to show, they still knew who the stars were. So when the stars had a great match, those matches would get buzz. So I think that's probably why this match, which was a phenomenal match and probably would do well in our match of the year poll if the right people saw it, isn't quite getting that kind of buzz. Did you like anything else across these two shows?
I mean, I thought the main events were fine. I think I liked the night 1 main event, Yoshioka versus Kai, a little bit better than the Yoshioka versus Minoru. I didn't think that match had any juice to it. The night 2 main event. I was just like, my eyes were glazing over, and I was like, what are we doing?
I was so bored.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not alone. I don't know if I was just tired when I was watching it, but I was bored out of my mind watching that match.
And my big talking point was going to be that was not a great vote of confidence for these two young guys in a main event of a major show because I don't think they delivered.
No, I would agree. But I thought Kai and Yoshioka from night 1 main event was good. I enjoyed that.
Good match, not a great match.
Yeah, no, not great. No. Especially following the match that it did.
There's a ceiling on Kai. He's not ever going to have a great match. And a lot of it was Kai doing shit to get near falls and building to Yoshioka because everyone on Earth knew Yoshioka was going to win. I mean, that was just an absolute given.
Right.
So it wasn't like it was a good match, though. It was like a 3.5-star match or something like that. 3.25, 3.5, somewhere like that. I really didn't like anything else on any of these fucking matches.
The Bravegate match on night 2 I wanted to like, but it was just kind of okay. The Hyo SB Kento. I mean, I like both those guys. I really, really like SB Kento, but I was just like, I don't know. Fine.
Did nothing for me.
And then, the rest of night 2, I mean, a lot of it was just throwing together random tag matches with a bunch of dudes that I'm not that interested in seeing. The Open the Triangle Gate elimination match was fine, but I like M3K. That's a fun little team, but it wasn't exactly a match that I would say, go out of your way to watch. And that Yeah, I mean, night 2, I did not like night 2 at all. I thought night 2 was a slog to get through, and I was bored out of my mind when it was done.
Well, the first night's Triangle Gate, they did a fucking count out for the title change.
Right. Which, to be fair, M3K, that is part of their little gimmick and stuff, so that's okay. I didn't mind that, and it was Peros, so it's like, you know, the comeuppance on the shitheads and the shitbags or whatever. I'm like, all right.
You know what, Rich? I get all that.
Doesn't mean
I'm
it's
doing
good.
I like a title change. I like a fucking clean pin in the middle, please, for the baby faces. Right. Is that too much to ask? But all right, it's fine. And then the next night they did the elimination. I'll be honest. Even when Dragon Gate was humming, I never really liked that kind of match. So, I'm watching that like what I'm watching is good, quote unquote, but it didn't do nothing for me. I didn't really love either Brave Gate match. They were fine. 3-star range, I guess, both nights. And then you had the gimmick stuff. I mean, I will say, I enjoyed Muto versus Ishikawa.
I was going to say one of my favorite matches of the entire weekend, of the entire weekend, and especially the Dragon Gate weekend. I thought Muto and Ishikawa was great. If Muto's just going to do dumb comedy shit, I'm all for it. That's fine with me. If you're just going to go in there and work some dumb comedy thing and do some Shining Wizards and let the crowd see you a couple more times, that I have no problem with that. Get this guy to my main events. I don't want this guy against my top young stars. But if he's going to go in there and have a 3-minute match with Stalker Ishikawa, I'm fine with that. That works for me.
I thought he played his role perfectly for a Stalker Ishikawa match, and Ishikawa was great like he always is. So I actually. I laughed out loud because Ishikawa, he's the only comedy wrestler I like. Danhausen.
So
I like Danhausen too.
Well, you're a fraud with that, but anyway.
I would love to watch Danhausen versus Ishikawa. I think they.
He doesn't want to. Ishikawa doesn't want to embarrass Danhausen like that.
They crush it. That'd be so good. But when he set up the rope walk, like he was going to run across the ropes, and then immediately fell off, is when he started the rope. That shit is just. It lands with me. But then like we talked about, Santo and Ultimo Dragon, neither one of them wanting to do a job, so they have to do like a Heyman special and turn it into a tag match against Peros. And because neither one of those guys will fucking lose. And and then Sawa at least does the job in the tag match, and then they bring the old fucks back again the next. I'm just tired of all of these old fucks. I don't need Ultimo Dragon anymore. I don't need Ric Flair ever again. I don't need fucking Muto. Enough of it already. I don't need fucking Toru Owashi coming back for these shows. He fucking stinks and looks like shit.
Oh my god,
like,
we go away. Get all these old farts out of here. What are we doing? It's Dragon Gate, man. Get these fucking old farts out of here. Like, I don't need any of these guys.
It's just so much fucking clutter and junk, and I don't know. It just really sunk in with me that it's fucking over. It's over, Rich. It's never coming back.
Clearing it over. Wow. All right.
This was.
It's not a good. I'm not happy. I'm definitely not. I'm not bullish on the future of Dragon Gate. I'll tell you that.
It's long overdue. They've been over for a long time, and it's been a different place for a long time. These are just my steps of grief. This is acceptance, Rich. I've accepted that it's fucking over. When Susumu and these guys feel like they're the ones that don't belong, it's over. And these solid young workers, I don't see enough of them. And look, a lot of them are in awkward positions now with leadership changes and different voices in the room. And I get all that, but man, I like to see one of these fuckers grab it by the throat and become a star. And I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, this Yoshioka, it'll be an interesting thing because I liked him as Dia Inferno. I thought that was a really cool gimmick for a while. He owned that, and he's taking the mask off, and there's been some good parts of it. But you're right. We need to know this dude is a dude, And I don't know that we are there just yet, especially after 2 nights of Kobe World. He defends the Dreamgate. He wins the Dreamgate title on night 1, defends it. 24 hours later. That was about 50 minutes of combined Dreamgate matches, 2 main events, and I don't know that he's like we're not coming on the show saying, "Oh, here we go, he's a made man. This is, get ready for the era." Like he's there for now, but it's hard to be super confident with where he's at. So
even if we don't go to the deep past, does he make you feel the way Ben K made you feel?
Oh God, no. God, go listen to that show about Ben K. We were like, this is the dude. Like, look at.
Does he make you feel the way Shun Skywalker made you feel when he won the title, when he came back to the company and won the title?
Yeah, absolutely.
No. Does he make you feel even the way that Eita made you feel when he had his scummy little run with the title? No. I mean, so he's got a ways to go. And look, Yoshioka, unlike a lot of these 22-year-olds, he's like 27. So it's not like he's, a fucking spring chicken by the standards of the young guys in this company. He should really be coming into his own now. I'm not writing him off, but this particular set of shows, which was supposed to make him, I don't feel like they made a guy.
That is Dragongate Kobe World, and we have missed out on New Japan yet again. You've gotten out of talking about G1 Climax.
$5 audio. You
know what? You got enough goddamn New Japan talk. Flagshippatreon.com, $5 tier. Joe is doing daily G1 audio. It is also a descent into madness and depression. People are worried about you, Joe. Are you okay? Are you doing all right? Are you gonna hold? Are you gonna make it?
No, I mean, listen. The thing is, very quickly, because I know we have to go. The shows aren't bad. They're actually mostly pretty good. They're just all the same, and they don't have a lot of life. They don't have a lot of energy. There's no flow to the tournament. We're getting a little juice in that D block with David Finlay now upsetting. He beat Juice, Will Ospreay, and Shingo, and he leads the block. So there's like a little story being told there. Otherwise, everything's going true to form. We all know Naito's going to make the big comeback and probably win the block. It's even with 6 matches, Gato found a way to do the big comeback story with somebody. It just the shows are good. They all have like one like pretty good match, but there's been no great match, no match of the year contender, and no great top to bottom show. And it's the fucking G1.
Right.
It should have those things.
It's a G1 Climax. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people be like, I don't know, it's fine. Like everything, I'm enjoying the show. No, I don't want to enjoy the shows. I want a fucking G1 Climax. I don't want hey, good shows. Good little wrestling. Good little booking. No, it's the G1 Climax, man. Like this should be tearing up. We always used to say, don't do Wrestler of the Year, don't do Match of the Year, don't worry about any of that shit until after the G1 Climax. What so far from the G1 Climax has torn up any of your thoughts about any of those awards?
I mean, it's not going to have the effect on those things to this point. We do have Shingo versus Will Ospreay coming up in a couple days. If that one doesn't deliver a buzzworthy, incredible match, nothing in this tournament is going to. So, we'll see. It's not like there hasn't been. I've got about a half a dozen notebook matches, but this is the G1 used to be 3 of these a night.
Right. Get a whole new notebook because you're going to need it after G1. Yeah, no.
And it just isn't that anymore. And it might be because of the 7-man blocks. It might be because of the clap crowds. It might be because, the lack of top tier, top workers matching up with each other because they're just all separated into 4 blocks. I think that's a big thing. It's you might have 1 or 2 other guys in your block where you can go out there and have a match of the year with, whereas you used to have like 4, 5, 6 other guys in your block you could have a match of the year with. So every night you were getting potential for great matches. There's nights on this tour where there's no chance at all for a great match, just based on the matchups. So, in a vacuum, are the shows fine? Yeah, there's only been one terrible show, that night 3 or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
But if you look on Cage Match, for instance, every show is getting like 6.8.
Right, it's that G1. Come on.
It's the G1, man. They should be 9s.
This is the elite roster of the elite company. This should be, you should be killing it.
There were G1s where like shows would get a 7 and we'd be like, that was a downer. Like that's the high point now. Like when a show gets a 7 on Cage Match. Now they're all like getting 6s and 5s and shit. Man. Dragongate's fucking dead. The G1's dead. The world's changing, Rich. Vince McMahon's gone. What's going on here? What's causing all this?
I don't know, man. that sucks. Wrestling's pretty bad right now.
I called for the Ric Flair quote.
Yeah.
Because he retired.
What did he say?
What's causing all this?
I don't know. Yeah, who knows? God damn it. All right. FlagshipPatreon.com.
Hey, you remember? Hey, I'm not going to let you end this. Remember when Nick Aldis said, "What's causing all this?" Like as a play on Ric Flair when he had the 10 pounds.
Right. And nobody really got it, though, right?
No.
Everybody was kind of like, what?
Nobody gets Nick Aldis.
Talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is that. FlagshipPatreon.com, $5 tier for all the G1 reviews. Also Thursday T reviews, your reviews of Dynamite. Beach Bash, my reviews of classic WCW Bash at the Beach main events. We just posted 1996 a couple days ago, 97 and 98 coming up in the next few days as well. Very eventful shows. A lot of Dennis Rodman talk, so if you want to learn everything you could possibly learn about Dennis Rodman, you are going to do that in those episodes. And then $10 tier is going to get you all of our live content, including the live flagships. Oh, $5 tier, also a brand new Jovember to Remember, number 20, covering ECW Hardcore TV, number 21 from August 31st, 1993. So there you go. That is Jovember to Remember.
Deep and dive on the 1993 internet wrestling community in that episode.
Really? Okay, I haven't listened to that one yet. I'm interested, though. I'm interested. The IWC back in 1993. That had to work a little harder to be the IWC. And they actually were the IWC as opposed to people today who use the IWC. And it's 2022. Everyone has the internet. But at this time, it was a little harder to get on the internet. So this is the true internet wrestling community. And they had certain likes at the time, too. Nowadays, everybody likes everything. So, because everybody's on the internet, so everybody has. Anyway, I gotta go. All right, so that is it for us. That is Joe. I am Rich. This is the Flagship Podcast. Take care.
So you just bought a new house. Now it's time to care for it. Sign up for a free workshop from the Home Depot. We'll go over the basics of power and hand tools, air and electrical systems, lawn care, and more, so you can take on upkeep with confidence. Every workshop is live, interactive, and led by our expert associates, so you can get all your questions answered. Keep your home looking its best with Homeowner 101 Basics. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Register now at homedepot.com/workshops.
School is back, and so is the JCPenney Mystery Sale. How much will you save? Hurry in store for a coupon giveaway while they last. You could peel and reveal an extra 30, 40, or even 50% off store-wide. Sale ends Sunday. Extended store hours Friday and Saturday. Shopping is back, and the savings are too. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 8/7. Exclusions apply. Giveaway in-store only. Must be 18 years or older. See store or jcp.com for details. Do it!